Good evening, all. Welcome to this week's Midweek Geek. I have a little panel with me. We have Bear, we have Saxius, we have Joker, and I am the old geek, as you will all know. Bear is simultaneously streaming this, so there might be
Yes.
people chiming in from Bear's channel, and I will try to make a point of sharing those comments back because not everyone, well, people in my channel can't read them, so it makes for a better conversation. Right, before we go anywhere or do anything regarding the topic, what games have you been playing, chaps?
So Friday night we had Heroic, and no, that was 2 weeks ago. We had Friday Heroic. I can't remember. Hang on, let me double check my calendar. I know
No, I don't
this
think
past Friday we had Heroic. Yes, we had Friday night Heroic this past Friday, and it was a lot of fun. And it was crazy go nuts and boom bang poof bam pow. And then Sunday we had Savage Swords. We had Savage Swords against the Outer Dark first session, and that was a lot of fun.
Savage Swords.
Yes, I'm using my BRP hack. Right now we're using Magic World as the base, but I'm hacking it as we go to do basically a game of Conan versus Cthulhu, essentially.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that last week. Yeah.
Hence, Savage Swords versus the Outer Dark. Sorry, against the Outer Dark.
Yeah.
Quite fun.
Joker, is your microphone very close to your mouth, and are you breathing very heavily?
Is that better?
Yes, that is better. I don't want to hear heavy breathing throughout the stream. I mean, that's what you phone dodgy phone lines for. Saxius.
Hello.
Hello.
I had my Friday Heroics, which was enjoyable. And then I had a one-shot of Heroics with my Saturday group. They're a bit tougher to get to warm up to Heroics because they're grognards. At least one of them is. Another one is indifferent, and the third one was like, "Oh boy, I like this," because I gave him a Thunder Girl, and he was like, "I love this character. She's something." Well, the player being Mexican.
May I interject? Did I ever tell you about how Thunder Girl proved AI is racist?
Yes.
It's John. So John, I was making my AI art for the character. Described her costume, everything good, and I got a couple images, and I didn't like them because they were making her too white. And I'm like, the character is Latina, added into the description, and suddenly she had hoop earrings. I'm like, okay, that's hilarious. Latina equals hoop earrings. Okay, we're good to go.
Yeah.
All right, British, you don't understand. I'm so sorry.
No, he doesn't. It's a stereotype, John.
It's a stereotype so much so that there was a big row a couple of years ago that white people were not allowed to wear hoop earrings because it was cultural appropriation from Latinas.
Yes.
Oh,
Central America specifically.
I'm glad I missed that.
I've got two players from Mexico, so I had one. Yes, I've got one player who immediately went for Paladin, because he looked at that character and went, I love the design, I love the aesthetics behind him, dive straight in. The other guy went for Thunder Girl. He basically went, I love the energy that I'm reading from her. She's great. The whole idea of like electricity and might combined. He was more dangerous than the villains I threw them up against, because he would just go, don't care, collateral damage. Another ally will get hurt in the meantime. I'm like, okay. Are you sure you're meant to be a hero? It's like, yeah. I mean, I'm fighting bad guys, aren't I? It's like, you're doing a lot of damage to the port. It hurts me.
Yeah, that's what property damage karma loss is for.
It is. Thankfully, it was a one shot, so I didn't really go too deep into it. But yeah, no, I would say that it was fun. And the last player is he's got what's it called, Spanish/Mexican descent, Texan, and he decided he wants to play the J Jaguar.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we had a fun little roster of that, and My Friday game was again good. I managed to split the party up, and then we had a little bit of back character focus for every player, which pushed their characters forwards, and the players were very happy with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gee, John, it's almost like you should be playing Heroic at this point, John. Why aren't you playing Heroic, John, why no Heroic, John?
There isn't a space in my busy, my busy schedule.
Your Friday open up at one point. When those Fridays are available, you are mine.
And also, like my best friend says, people make time for the things they want to do.
Well, I mean, my only free night at the moment is Thursday, so.
If I ever start a Thursday game, I'll let you know. The problem is we got a little bit of a time difference between the two of us, and I work. I have a job.
And so do I. So do I, yes. Yeah. And Joker, we played a bit of Call of Cthulhu last night.
Indeed,
do you want me to describe it, or do you want to describe it, or do you want me to describe it?
I'll let you do that hard work.
Oh, you're going to sit on your ass and let me do it. Okay.
Well played, Joker.
You offered. That's your fault, John.
Okay. The party are in Belgrade at the moment, and they're looking for another piece of the simulacrum, which is what the whole purpose of the Horror on the Orient Express campaign, to find the pieces of a statue known as the Sedefka simulacrum. And they're following a trail which has led them to a village out in the sticks. And there's lots of awkward Croatian names to try and pronounce, which we're doing a terrible job of. And there was a bit of a festival. People expected it to go a bit Wickermanish, but no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. In fact, they realized that the festival was actually benign. They thought it was going to be satanic and evil.
Is it the Orient Express game?
Yes, it is. And after the festival, 3 of them stayed at the mayor's house. A happy-go-lucky chap who got very drunk. 23 people stayed at that house, along with about a dozen dogs. And they woke up in the morning to find dogs on their pillows, and kids running around and shouting and screaming. But it was all very homely and very lively. 2 people stayed in the rectory, which was quite the opposite. Very quiet. Very, very quiet. Very prim and proper. But the next day, they went out into the woods to try and meet up with an old woman simply known as Grandmother, who unearths various artifacts, because she knows that these woods grew on what used to be a Roman trade route. When they got there, they found a mysterious young girl in her cabin who was making a tapestry. And the tapestry depicted last night's events in the town, right down to the detail of the correct clothes that people were wearing. But she wasn't there. And so she is somewhat mysterious. But they pressed on, and Grandmother came home and had a good chat with Grandmother, who is a crooked old crone, as she's got to be, because she lived in a cabin in the woods. It is a bit of a trope, a bit of a stereotype. And it finished with them realizing they've spotted the piece of the simulacrum, but it's in a hard-to-reach spot in the cottage. They're going to have to climb up to the rafters to get it. How are they going to get hold of that? Don't know. We'll find out next time. It wasn't a particularly threatening session. It had a few spooky-ish moments, and there was a lot of role playing. So
You know what I like, John? You ask me, you ask Saxis about our games. We're like, we played a game that's happened, blah, 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 blah. And then you tell us about your game. And it's like listening to like a radio play all of a sudden, and then they were there, and there was a strange tapestry. And what was going on? It was so... It's like, it's always adorable. It's just like, oh my God, I love your recaps.
I enjoy my games.
Oh, you clearly do.
I do.
And then that's a good thing, but it's also the way that you still keep storytelling when you recap them.
Mhm.
I like that. Try and give you a compliment, yeah. Fucking Pommy. Jesus Christ.
Last Friday, we continued with a bit of fighting fantasy. My game was cancelled on Monday night, so I played a driving game, and on Saturday we played some OSE. Yes, we played some OSE. They're in the level of Caverns of Krampus entitled Six Geese a Laying. And they fought this hideous, oversized lamprey thing and some weregeese. But that was about that, really. That was it. A lot of time spent fannying around. But hello to chat. I'm going to say hello to chat. Square Peg Makes Games. Hello, Car. Andy. Iman, you're lurking in chat.
Yeah, why aren't you here? You dirty, filthy story gamer.
I don't know. He was in the game last night. And there's Daniel, and there's Saxius on his other account. Jerry, you're in Bear's chat. There's RPG Dad. There's Daniel pretending to be his daughter.
I was going to say.
Yeah. Daryl says Bear's game prompted him to read Conan of the Blood Serpent, taking place in the arse end of Stygia.
Glad to be inspirational. Thank you.
Yes.
Jerry made it over. Yay, Jerry.
There's Jerry. Jerry's joined us there. Iman has got guests. Singing. Me singing? When have I been singing? When have I been singing? No.
It's because Halakar said at least he didn't break into singing corn rakes. And
I have no idea what that is.
It doesn't matter. Imagining you singing, that's what's making me react that way.
Oh yeah. I think I didn't I sing a little bit in the last night's session, briefly.
I think we can move on.
I think we can.
Yes, I think we should. In fact, the mere thought of that means I should end the stream now. Right. So we have. Oh, it's a recurring song in the Wicker Man. I don't know the names of the songs in the Wicker Man apart from Summer Is a Coming In. That's the only one I know. But we have a topic for tonight. The stream is called The End, which made me sort of really think more about ending a story arc or a campaign arc or a campaign in total. But Saxius wanted us to talk about the start, the beginning, and the end. Where do we start? How do we then take the start through its various paces and bring the body of the storyline in? And then how do we end it and make it memorable?
This is the end. My only friend, the end. The Doors, baby. It's a great song. See, there's this thing that happened in the modern age, John. It's called culture. You may have heard of it.
No.
It's all just footy, beer, and fantasy. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, no. We have.
So
Cricket.
are we doing
we have cricket in this country. And
oh yeah, right. Cricket. That.
Oh, good God! No, let's just move away from that.
Now, are we doing beginning, middle, and end, or are we just doing end?
We're doing beginning, middle, and end. Let's start with the beginning. Hello, George. Hello.
Let's start at the beginning.
Now, yes, Yog singing. He'll stand check. Yes. Right.
I'm trying to save you by making them make a sad check versus mine singing, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Yours is better than mine. Saxius.
Hi.
Give us off you go, singers. You are our glue when it comes to topics.
Swap us, man. Put Sax on top of me so we'll go in the right order.
It doesn't matter.
Well, then,
it matters to me and my OCD, sir.
Okay. Right. Well, when it comes to the to campaigns, especially if you know the theme that you want to go for, or taking a theme of what I want to go for, I want that to be a strong end. There needs to be a hook that brings them in, and then that hook is what I usually throw out towards the players of, this is the idea, this is the concept, this is where I want it to go, and then that is going to be the lead in that all the players come into a campaign and go, right, this is what we're here for, and then we go for that. So a beginning needs to have an objective. Like I like to work around with, you start a campaign where there is at least a point that the players can visibly sit and go, right, this is what we need to achieve, and we got to build our way up towards that. It doesn't have to be crystal clear. It can be anywhere from, I'm going to take my fantasy game where they are in the new world, and they've arrived, and the entire goal was, we need this expedition to work. We need to establish ourselves. We need to explore this area, and we need to defend this fort, because if this falls, all the players, all the people who have come to the new land, their futures are effectively going to fall apart. So the players came in knowing that, okay, we're here to make this work. We're here to explore. It is going to be an exploration-heavy campaign. And the more they explored, the more I untangled that there was this ancient cycle that they were being presented with. And they found themselves being invested into this Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos on one side, with the twisted yet benevolent Fae on the other side. And they have been unraveling this, and they've been biting their teeth into it. So yes, it is another D&D setup, but it is a setup where the players came in knowing that they have to explore, because exploration is what is going to make them survive.
Do you drop clues as to what your plan end point will be when you begin the campaign?
At the beginning, no, because what I need to figure out, I need to figure out where the trajectory goes. So I got a beginning. So I usually would put that like a sphere. It's going to be round, and the players understands that there's a goal from this sphere, but the trajectory that they then pick is what I then observe, and I go, right, this is the direction that they're going. So that means that, like, with this, with these actions that I've seen so far, and with the world I've created, what direction are they going? And then that is going to be the middle point. And then from the middle point, once you start moving towards that, I go, right, I've got them at this path now. What is the end point at this point? So it's like a 3-point step that I build, where the players, they build the bridges towards the next point. And I go, right, how did they accomplish this? And how has that impacted the story? And I go, right, this is how I'm connecting this together. So that way, at least in this specific campaign, the players have constructed their own story.
I think we need to define exactly what constitutes a campaign.
Sure.
How long must a game be in order to really be classified as a campaign?
Okay. You throw out some numbers here. Because to me, most of my campaigns last a year.
Right.
A dedicated year. Good. That is what I put down at.
I class a campaign typically as multiple adventures.
Okay.
Multiple tasks, multiple scenarios built into usually built into an overarching sort of plot of some sort. And typically it's going to have to be at least 6 months. And there has to be lots of different aspects. I mean, multiple quests is probably a better way of describing it.
I should introduce you to my other group, the one I use to stress test campaigns, because they speed run, they gamify things, and they will drop morals. As I said, a random red hand of doom, and they just went, right, we're going to get a necromancer, we're going to demon summoner, we're going to get this, we're going to get that, we're going to get these other terrible classes, and we're just going to go and we're going to accomplish as many objectives as you can in this campaign. So
and it still took me a year probably.
Give or take, between that and like leveling them up with a pre-campaign. I think they got through Red Hand of Doom in about No, it might have been like 4 to 5 months.
That's pretty quick. Hello, Game Masters. Hello, Straw Piglet.
Dude, may I throw Game Masters the link just in case he wants to join?
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's a hell of a good guy to have on.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he's got a very large channel as Game Masters.
Well, beyond
compared to us. And yes, I've seen him on your streams. So yes, he is a good guy. I mean, if you wish to join us, Game Masters, you are more than welcome. So, I mean, I think defining what is a campaign is important because that affects how you start and how you plan to finish. Because if I'm playing a fantasy game, I don't tend to script many story beats. I have a loose idea of what I want, but in terms of getting there, it's largely I tend to give the freedom to the players. That's when I'm running fantasy. For example, I'm running a long-running MERP game at the moment, and the end of the campaign will be a massive battle versus a half-troll warlord and his army between the player characters and all of their allies and whatever armies their allies can muster. And that is the goal. That is the goal point. And it took about 6 months of play before I decided that was the goal point. And they're still not really very close to getting towards it. They're still moving around. They're trying to get allies. So this campaign could meander for 3 or 4 years before they actually reach that goal.
I think that's just where I think that's where you and I are different in how we do our approaches. So I have moved away from let's just open up the floodgates and the players are going to go out and do whatever, and then I will just jury rig and with duct tape and spaghetti, make a story from there. I come out and I say, right, here's what I want as a game master. Here's the theme. Here's the objective, the thematic that I want out of the game, and then the players either go yay or nay to that, rather than hey, do you want to play a game and then get together? No, I immediately have a pitch for what I want to do.
Right. Okay.
Then I build a world, and then from there I know what the world is going to be like, and then I throw the players in. They do their little exploration. I usually give them about 4 to 5 sessions to sort of figure out what's going on, and then from there they usually find out, okay, we got to do something about X, Y, or Z. And then they take action. And then from there, I can see, right, this is where they're going to be going. Who are they? These guys are connected to this organization. That organization works with this goal, which means that they are looking to end this overarching plotline. Great. That's now a major point. And then once they get closer towards that, I go, right, what's going next after that? Well, I've got this other problem that's been brewing in the background. Plot that on. And then connect these 2 or 3 events together, and I've now got what has the events been that build up to the midpoint. And from the midpoint, that's usually where I've stressed my players out to the point of where they go like, okay, we need to do something. There's so much on our plate. We've been piling all of this up. And there's been multiple quests, multiple objectives, multiple stakes where they've had to go out and risk life and limb just to accomplish maybe 1 or 2 of these things. And then at that point they usually find like there's something else, and that's where I start throwing nuggets of like hope and an olive branch for them to like start reaching out for. And then that's where they start finding their steam, and they start pushing like we can do something, we're getting progress. And then it usually snowballs.
Do you tend to have like I tend to have quite a laid-back beginning to let the characters get to know each other, and then present them with a small quest just to get them working together. That's my usual starting point.
Yeah.
Whether they take the quest or not is up to them. But the whole idea is it's usually something small and simple. Get them working together. Get them knowing their characters, what their strengths and weaknesses are. Get the characters sort of acquainted and give them a reason to be adventuring together.
Okay.
So Bear.
Oh, hi.
Hello. In terms of starting games, where do you tend to like to start, and what do you tend to like to give your players?
I'm going to use superhero RPGs and offset all this D&D bullshit that I hear all day long everywhere on YouTube and talk about something other than D&D. So when I'm setting up a superhero campaign, the first thing I'm going to do is sit down with the players, and say, okay, here's what the campaign is like. And I'm going to lay it out using comic book terms so they understand and they can relate to it immediately. You're always going to have that one player that's like, well, I want to play John Constantine, because they don't really like superheroes and they want to just prove what edgelords they are. And you can usually either say no or go, all right, and smile, and watch them go, whoa, why are you smiling? Because you'll see. Let's play. First thing I got to do out of the gate is the inciting event, the event that's going to bring them all together as superheroes. Now, that could be as easy as something like, the city is under attack and you're the heroes on the scene, to what we're doing in Heroic, which is something I've used many times, which is an adventure called Tryout, where basically you're trying out for the one spot available on an established superhero team. And, only one person's going to get it. And oh my God, 5 of you showed up plus 30 other people. I wonder who's going to get it. And then you can go lots of ways from that. At the end of that goal, though, either way, they should want to work together as a team. They should see as heroes. They are all, connected together. And hey, we just overcame this thing or went through this trial, this event, or whatever the case may be, and off we go. Once that ball is in motion, next few adventures, they're the talk of the town, baby. They're the new kids on the block. They're the hot new thing, and they're going to be kicking ass and taking names. And I'm going to throw moderate level villains at them. I'm going to put them in situations where they can easily triumph to build them, chuff them up, chuff them up, chuff them up. And then about session 5 or 6 is going to happen, and that's going to be the trial by fire. And it's even better when one of them dies. That's when they've gotten big enough to attract the attention of real villains. Villains who are like, nah, we don't need any more you costume do-gooders around these parts, and we're going to take you out. And then if they pass the trial by fire, we can get onto the middle of the campaign. But the beginning of the campaign, I always see it as like the first 6 issues, because it is essentially the 6 issues that will make up the first trade paperback. And if it ends with a death, all the better.
But it's similar, though, I mean, in a way, to how we start a fantasy game. You're getting the party together. You're giving them a reason to work together. You're getting them to know each other. You're getting them to work as a cohesive unit. In my MERP game, I started them in the Shire, at an inn on the edge of the Shire, just a day's walk from Bree. And quite simply, a group of hobbits asked for a little bit of help to get rid of some blighted refugees. Just something as simple as that. The hobbits are about being small and inoffensive, and they can't really push their way. They can't really push large humans around, and these humans were refusing to move. So. That was their job. That quite simply was their job, to try and shift these refugees.
That doesn't compare to a superhero game, though.
No, it doesn't.
A superhero game, it's not your job. And that's the hardest thing to get people to understand, is when they're playing a superhero game, you're playing a character who is chosen for no reward to put themselves in the way of harm, to protect people who may or may not even give a crap about them.
What I meant, though, was from a group dynamic, just getting the players.
Every genre of game is going to have the same type of thing, except maybe Star Trek, where you're all the crew on the ship, so you're stuck together anyway. Get along with each other. Good luck. But if you're doing something where people have free will and they can just say, F this, I'm leaving, at any point in time, their character has that type of freedom available to them because they're not part of an organization. Well, then it's always going to be the same. What's the inciting event? What's the inciting event that brings them all together? But again, you need to put them through the trial by fire by about the 6th or 7th session, because if you don't, they will not take things seriously because they think they're untouchable. You need to touch them. Show me on the bear where the bad GM touched you, because that's what's going to happen.
They got that about session 3 in this one.
Yeah, I wait 5 or 6. Why? Yeah. Because once that trial by fire happens, it will either shatter them and the campaign's over, or it will forge them into an excellent piece of steel, and the campaign goes on.
One thing I enjoyed was when we started the Codex Albana campaign. That first session, some people complained about it, but I liked the way you started by putting the focus on Cody, who was someone you had faith. You didn't know how the rest of us role played so well, but you knew Cody well, so you put him sort of front and center to begin with, and and his character was sort of like the glue to bring the party together. And
Sure.
you had him meet each of us one by one and gave us all our little sort of meeting mini scenario, our own little bit in the spotlight of about 20 to 30 minutes. But we each had to wait our turn to be brought in. But I felt it felt nicely organic. It felt like, and it was a very heavy role play session, very descriptive session, setting the world, setting the scene. And I like to start games like that, where you've got a very high role play first session, as I say, fairly low stakes. There were a few moments in it that made us wake up, but it didn't really kick off until probably about session 4, wasn't it? Sort of session 3 or 4, where we really started getting.
Yeah, when you were facing off against the Beastmen.
Beastmen,
that's when you were all basically like you had the big duel.
Your trial by fire.
Huh. Yeah.
Yes.
Huh. Yes. Now I'm curious because you said that some people were complaining. What were the complaints? What did they feel should have been done?
No, well, the complaints came from a certain portion of the community who were moaning that certain people were just sitting there for ages, but that's how it was.
But allow me to counter.
Yeah.
If a player says, "I want to play the strong silent type," and then they are strong and silent, they're just playing their character right.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Plus, as I believe Elfbait has said on a few occasions, sometimes it's okay for players to lean back and allow others to have the spotlight.
Absolutely.
That's okay. And the DM, especially if they're experienced, will turn around and go like, "Okay, we've now heard from you. Let's turn the eye of Sauron towards this character. You have your chance.
Saxius.
Exactly. Well, you now have the chance to. You have my attention. You have my time. Do you want to use it?" And the player can turn around and say, "I don't think I want to use it right now because I don't see my character engaging right now." I was like,
"No,
cool. You know your character better. I'm moving on, and that's okay."
Well, something I did intentionally in that Codex Albana game was, I think it was the last session, I sat back more. Because I was aware that I had a lot of the spotlight in the previous session. So, and I basically said, "Look, I'm going to sit back a bit and just let everybody else interact a little bit more," because I felt like I was hogging it a little bit. So,
well, you had the most driven of the PCs. Like you and Cody are sort of tied for which guy is going to be driving the adventure more, right? Iman's character Navri is just more laid back and sort of trying to figure out his place in the world and all this kind of stuff. Malachi's character is the silent one, that sort of thing. So as a result of that, you and Cody are the two that are really pushing. And then you got poor Ethane, who is the guy who's stuck between the two of you being pushed in all these directions, right?
Yep.
It made perfect sense that you would step up, but sometimes you're going to step back, and that's fine too. And there's nothing wrong with that as a player to do those things. But again, we're not talking about player behavior. We're talking about starting campaigns.
No.
Someone's going to always rise to the front when you start a campaign. Yes. Always. Yep. That's the nature of the beast. And you are not doing your players any favor by ignoring that person and trying to focus on the quiet person at the start, because you need that energy, you need that grasp, you need that buy-in, and then later you can focus on the silent ones to get them to come up more and they've seen more stuff happen.
Well, hopefully the other players will start to feed off the energy of that one player, won't they?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
But I've also had other players. I mean, I have a player who openly says he does not want to be the leader. He only steps up if there is a paralysis by choice or paralysis by, options from the group. And as a DM, I often feed into whoever the group leader, whoever steps up to become the group leader, because it's a good way to sort of get that character get on the tracks and then take the group with them, because many players will usually go, that sounds like a cool plan. There is enthusiasm from both our de facto leader. We've got that. And if you then have multiple personality leaders, if you're lucky to know the players that you play with and you know their persona, their psychology, their quirks before you begin the campaign, it is something you can work and bounce around with.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't learn this overnight. It takes a lot of time for you as a DM, and it's a bit advanced for you to be able to then sit down and go, right, I know that Murdoch, one of my players, has a certain mentality that means that he will always try to do what is right, at least in his worldview. He will always try to be a morally justified character, which is excellent because it means that I can then give it an anchor for the group to then go, we have someone who wants to do good, which means that we can't do what one of my other groups does, which is ditch morality and focus on what's more expedient. And that's nice. It's nice having that, counteractance. And then I'm also enjoying the fact that one of the other players who is more, he's more in the background, but then when I give him the attention and he's like, no one's watching, great, I'm going to be doing these things also. It's like, great, it's like a sideshow that the rest of the group is like, oh boy, he's up to something now. And then they get to sit and listen to the schemes that the warlock is up to. And similarly, the wizards, having to, coming from a detective background, having to like start unfolding the web of information that they're gathering. And this is when you start a campaign. If you're lucky to know your players, that's something you can use to your advantage. You're more likely to not know them, which, as Bear has been highlighting, invest the time for your players to get to know their characters. Yep. Invest the time for the players to get to know the world and for their characters to get to know the world. And then when you're at session 4, 5, 6, you amp it up with a threat of some form. Something that's happening, that's challenging them. And if they come out beaten, broken, and maybe even with a character death, that's where you will see dedication seep into the players, and they're gonna want either blood or they're gonna sit there and go, I can't do this. And it's like, all right, we found a level, and if the group breaks, then the group breaks.
I mean, at the moment, I'm running, as you know, Horror on the Orient Express, and it is. I don't know if it is the longest campaign ever published. I'm not sure if it's second to Masks of Nyarlathotep, but it's massive, absolutely massive. Hello, Pidar. Hello, Nosorian, and Mondo. And that one, one thing I like about that particular campaign, because obviously it's not one I've written. Obviously, it's a published campaign, all 800 odd pages of it. That one starts you off by a very gentle opening session. You meet an old friend, Julius Smith. Everyone in the party has some connection to him and some reason for him to be their friend and for him to be trusted. Then he gives a speech, which drops a few very vague nuggets as to what's going on. It's a presentation that they go to with him, and there's a bit of role play around meeting him and meeting up with each other, getting to know each other, and then he gets attacked about a week later, and he gets really badly burnt. So that meeting bit is it's to give the players that sort of connection to Julius as well as the characters, because Julius is an affable, friendly guy that they all know. He gets badly burnt, and his manservant pleads for the party to help. And while they're all sort of researching what they need to find out about the information that he gives them, they find a body in the library. It's a body of one of his students who's died in a horrible way and had a piece of his flesh removed, skinned. And that gives a hint to one of the bad factions they're going to be up against. But it's still fairly gentle. There's still no real threat. And they're not really going to get hurt in that first chapter. They might lose a little bit of sanity, but not a lot. But Julius will basically tells them what their ultimate goal is, what they need to find in the next 18 months of play. The pieces of the statue, assemble them, find out how to destroy them once they're all assembled. And they can only be destroyed in one place, and that is a mosque in Constantinople. To get to Constantinople, travel on the Orient Express. Here's the money for the tickets. Here's the money for your journey. Off you go. That'll all take up 2 or 3 sessions. Then they get thrown into an optional scenario, which is brutal as hell. And that's where it suddenly ramps up the danger. And yes, that is where characters will die. And yes, we lost 2 characters, but I think it really sort of set the tone of the adventure, how things can get really, really nasty very, very quickly if they're tentative, and they split up. They split up, which condemned 2 characters pretty much straight away. So I think they got that campaign start absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. The scene was set. The hooks were laid. Yes, you did, Andy. I told you back then it was one of his students. I'm sure I did. It is a linear campaign, as you do move from chapter to chapter, but there are optional chapters you can throw in pretty much at any point, and there is flexibility within most of the chapters for various outcomes. So it's not a complete railroad. It's just linear in the sense that the main beats of the story are played in order. It's just that those beats can alter how the story plays out as it goes along. And I have made edits and brought in people who should still be in the background a little bit, more into the foreground, because I think it's fun. There is the flexibility to do that. You've just got to be careful. You've just got to be able to plan, to work, know the impact it's going to have. So it is a literal railroad. Yes, you're on a train. You board a train in Paris. You travel from London to Paris. You board a train in Paris. It takes you to Lausanne. Then it takes you to Milan, then Venice, then Trieste, then Vinkovci, then Belgrade, which is where they are now. And then it continues further on through the Balkans, through Sofia. There are other stops, eventually ending up in Constantinople. So that's it's a literal route in that sense, but you can adjust it. You can adjust it, which is good. But it's the beginning we're focusing on. That beginning worked. That beginning worked really, really nicely. It was just gentle enough to get them all going. And then, as Bear said, session sort of the second part is wham bam. They play a scenario called the Doom Train, and it's sick, it's brutal, it's carnage. So, yeah, I mean, Joker, do you remember the Doom Train? I guess.
Yes, me and Imad refused to go on it, and 2 people died by ghosts that were petrified of being on the train, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Well, they were zombie passengers. One drained Manfred's character's soul, and Roland's character was driven to just walk off the train into the eternal void, never to be seen again, and leaving poor Andy by himself. Poor Andy, desperately trying to build a train set to carry out a ritual. Lovely train set it was too.
Yes.
Made of body parts and a freshly beating heart. and innards to make the railway line.
And he's off again.
The voice will be coming back soon.
I will not be doing. No. They met the owner of that voice in Paris, which throws in another villain to go. So took his soul. Where did it go to? He was condemned to be a passenger on that train if it had stayed in the void.
So, question to Jokum: the stance of campaigns. What are your expectations?
Expectations. Well, considering I've done a few Saturday ones previously, I just like I said, like you lot said, I like the general gelling at the beginning. Ease yourself in until one of us makes a mistake, or quite often I die about 3 times due to a certain GM that we love. But yeah, I'm just generally like the whole how you settle in and gradually get way above your wasting trouble that you can't get out of.
So yeah, but you start gently, and then something big, then something big happens. Which is what Bear has already said.
Yeah.
So the middle. Now, Bear doesn't like his D&D and his level-based games, but if you're playing a D&D campaign, quite often the middle of the campaign serves the purpose of getting the characters prepared for the ending. Now that might take a long time, depending on what type of ending you're expecting, because they've got to gain levels, they've got to gain powers. In non-level based games, I think you've got more flexibility in terms of how the middle plays out. But level-based games, typically the ending tends to be quite wham bam, especially D&D, big bosses and all that sort of thing. And the party the middle of it is about gaining power, kitting the party out, which I suppose can be a little bit formulaic. It might be is that one of the things that you dislike about D&D, Bear? That sort of that dependency on gaining levels in the middle.
I don't like levels. I think it's really silly. I killed all these things, and now suddenly, pa-doo! I've got more of everything I need, and I've got more powers, and I'm better, and yay! I like, not to get off on a tangent, I prefer skill-based games like Call of Cthulhu, where you progressively, slowly increase and get better at the things you do.
Well, you do that in Call of Cthulhu, but
you do that in all BRP games.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily need in skill-based games. You don't necessarily need to get better in quite so many skills, because D&D you're getting better at everything, but a skill-based game you basically get better at what you work at, so you get that chance to sort of develop your character in a direction that you want. You've got that bit more flexibility in a BRP game. I don't know how level advancement works in other BRP games. Is it still sort of roll under to gain to succeed and then fail on a check?
Roll under to succeed, and then when you put a check beside your skill for the most part, and then when you're at the end of the session, you roll, and if you roll higher than the skill, you add whatever D that system uses.
And is that the same with the other BRP games as well as Call of Cthulhu?
Seems to be across the board from what I'm seeing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that works nicely, and it gives people a good chance to improve on what they're crap at. But it's quite hard to improve on what you begin good at. But I think it gives the players a chance to try to focus on the skills they want to develop, which is nice. But of course, they won't have everything.
Anyway, on topic of us being at the middle point,
mm-hmm.
at that stage, you have done the introduction.
Yeah.
The players should, at least at that stage, be familiar with what's going on. So, may I make a quick side suggestion? John, you're going to be covering Dungeons and Dragons. I'm happy to take on some sci-fi. Bear, do you want to take on superheroes and BRP? And then that way we get a wider spectrum. just superheroes for that, and that way we get a little bit of a variety for how we go about things. Because the concept of what we're talking about isn't necessarily applied just for the D20 system. It's applied for a very large spectrum of almost all of our of our hobby. So when I am using sci-fi, when I'm at the middle point, I have had my players explore the area. They've had to meet characters. And at this point, there is a tangible goal that's looming over. And that's usually a goal that's quite large. That's quite, up there. And that's where I sort of go, right. I have not necessarily pinned down exactly what it is, but I've now got like a large area where I'm going, right, this is the end goal. And it's then going to be a push forwards. And in character, I will then have NPCs ask the players, where do you see yourself? Are you going to be doing this for the next 20 years? Because mercenaries usually drop off after about 5 years or so. And then that's going to be the point to them is like, well, are we going to keep doing this forever? I was like, well, are we going to do a cash out, or are we going to do something with ourselves, or do we have greater ambitions? Now this again helps when you know your players, when you know the dynamic that they have, when you know the morality or lack of morality that they have, and then at that point you can turn and say, right, you have made your way from the beginning to this middle point in this way. Your current trajectory is going to be pushing you in this direction. Is this the direction you want to go in? In which case, they need to do a course correction, because once they get committed, stopping and turning around is going to have consequences, campaign consequences to their characters. And it'll also have consequences to the players, because now they're almost saying, well, this is not what we want to do. And then what have I been doing with the last 6 months of my life? And then that's a different conversation to be having, but that's where there's both in character and out of character communication about like, okay, here's where I see it as a DM, here's where the NPCs are seeing it, where do you see it as players, where do your characters see it? And then get that ideally in character conversation going amongst them, because that is good role playing. It is excellent role playing when the players are sitting down and in character they're saying, what do we want to achieve? Why are we here? And once they narrow that down to like, we want to achieve this, even if it's a large round circle with a multiple of options inside of it, they have a goal, and they have verbalized and actualized this goal. And at that midpoint, they have gone through some tough moments, and they know there's going to be more. But to me, it's at that tipping point where they know where they can find allies. They know where to go to get resources. So now it's down for them to, tighten up the belt, hoist up those socks, and say, right, we're going to commit for a cause, not just a cause for like freedom or anything like that. We're doing something to achieve something. We have a goal now, an objective, and then they apply themselves ideally.
Yeah,
That's me.
It's to do with knowing your group, and I think Straw Piglet's comment here comes in. Players are going to have different things that they want to focus on, and I've played a few games now with Straw Piglet, and his style of play is very much one of problem solver. He likes to strategize. He likes to plan, to work out the best way of going about whatever it is that they're tasked to do. He's not a conversation role player in terms of speaking in first person, having long, in-depth conversations, learning about the character. He's the sort of person who will sit down and study the environment and work out what you're good at, what I'm good at, what he's good at, what she's good at, and try and synergize to achieve whatever the goal might be. So knowing your players and putting the body of the campaign, basing the body of the campaign around their preferences, and allow their characters to develop by doing what they want to do, keeps the players engaged. I'm probably talking shite as usual.
Yeah, usually.
Yes. Anyway, there was I'm going to be covering some of the fantasy sort of stuff. And George has asked a question here: do most characters in fantasy stories become more competent as they progress in the story? Wheel of Time is a good example. I haven't read Wheel of Time. I haven't done much fantasy reading. In fact, here I'm going to fall back on the old favorite that a lot of us know, and that is the Lord of the Rings. And in the Lord of the Rings, I would say yes, the characters do become more competent. Look at how Sam comes out of his shell
Merry and Pippin.
become Merry and Pippin.
Oh, God,
yes.
yeah.
They start off as just troublesome young hobbits who mature during the course of the adventure. Gandalf the Grey becomes Gandalf the White. Aragorn goes on to become king of men. Gimli and Legolas learn to work together. So they are, and Boromir learns what it's like.
Boromir
learns of greed.
That eventually he will be played by Sean Bond and Sean Bean, and Sean Bond, and eventually be the guy who dies.
Yeah. But so yes, the characters do develop. They do become more competent because 4 of them aren't adventurers at the start of it. I think, and they're not skilled in the slightest at the start of it. By the end of it, Frodo has gained that courage to go through with what needs to be done. Sam becomes the paladin of the group. He is Frodo's protector. They develop. I mean, the only other series I've read are Dragonlance, and they, of course, are originally based on a D&D campaign. So yes, they develop as well. Look what happens to Raistlin as he goes through the game. And I think in a level-based game like D&D, for example, the point of the middle of the game, as I've already said, is it is more simplistic than other styles of game, because it is quite simply to gather enough power to achieve the end goal, whatever that end goal might be. It's probably overly simplistic in a lot of ways. It's a lot more simplistic than, for example, than the mid game of Call of Cthulhu, is where you're putting through all manner of trials and hanging on to your sanity. But I still find it enjoyable. I still find it fulfilling. I may be becoming a bit of a dirty story gamer due to Call of Cthulhu, but I still enjoy the simplicity of a level-based game, collecting experience and just having fun. Just having fun, playing through perilous situations and getting rewards and working as a team. So there you go. Bear.
Yeah.
Mid-game superheroes.
What about it?
Hello, King Eric.
What do you want to know?
The mid campaign in a superhero game. What's the main focus?
You've made it past the trial of fire. How about that?
Yeah.
You've gotten through the big first test. You've defeated Count Nefario. Thunderbird died. Oh my God, Nefario. Sorry, Thunderbird's died, but the X-Men are still together under the leadership of Cyclops and all that stuff. Well, now we've got the mid game. This is the meat of the series. This is where you start meeting other superheroes. This is where you start developing your rogues gallery and fighting that out and start building up the storylines. This is where the soap opera kicks in. This is where you really get into the characters as they grow into their role and they become more than just a bunch of new heroes, but accepted heroes. All of this, of course, headlining you towards something comic books don't do, but superhero games do: the end. So the middle point is all about fleshing it out, getting better, getting more competent, learning to work together, developing villains, and hopefully meeting your nemesis in this point, which ties into the end game. But we'll get to the end game. So that's really what it is. It's not some sort of magic formula. It's not arcane black art. It's really straightforward. The heroes doing what heroes do, not understanding or maybe not realizing that they are laying the groundwork for both their destruction and salvation potentially.
I would say, to be honest, the way Horror on the Orient Express has played out, it's quite similar. Andy's character is on the brink of Joker, you're breathing heavily again. You're breathing heavily. You're regaling us with your deep
respiratory prowess.
Yes. But certainly they've been forging friendships.
Yeah.
They've been developing some of their skills. Linguistic abilities have developed a little, which has been necessary, but that's natural because they're in new countries and they are spending a few days or sometimes a week in a new country, having to pick up little snippets of the language, and having to put the limited skills they start with, to the test and hone them. And as you know, though, with Call of Cthulhu, the honing of skills comes with a cost. And they're having to wrestle with that cost. And that cost is to their mental faculties.
Yeah, don't read, touch, smell, taste, hear, say. You know what? Just gouge out all your basic senses right out of the gate, and you should be fine.
Seeing, though. Seeing.
No, get rid of the eyes. Take him to hot poker. Done.
Yeah, gouge the eyes out.
Your eardrums. Have your tongue removed. You know, just hell, get your fingers cut off if need be, so you can't even touch something other than with like non-feeling stubs. Otherwise, everything in Call of Cthulhu wants to make you crazy.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, it's and one thing I have really noticed with the campaign is how the players are really those sort of almost nothingy little exchanges are becoming quite lengthy. They're getting more into their characters. There's a lot more back and forth between the characters now that they've really got to know them, and just a simple session, simple like bit of role playing around the dinner table. It would have been 5 minutes before.
Hang on.
It's not now.
I'm talking about superheroes, not Call of Cthulhu. So I don't care. Right? In French, we say "je m'en fous." I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong. There's not a huge difference between the two, except for the flavor, the setting, and the genre. Right? Later, straw. For me, the thing about the superheroes is it's going to be about the personal challenges and the mentality of the characters, because there's nothing more exciting than that one player stepping forth as leader. Oh, yes. And then they're being challenged from every side, including their own team, because that's how role players are with each other. And as a result, they're under a great deal of stress. And that's when you have that villain they've been fighting who's a little bit more than the average villain, that villain who's a little bit more than just a bank robber who steps up and suddenly has a private meeting one-on-one with that leader going, let me help.
It's your Magneto, your Dr. Doom.
Exactly. And you'll be amazed how often they go, I'm not taking any advice from you. You go, as you wish. You're a worthy opponent, and I would like to see you succeed so that when I eventually defeat you, it'll be that much greater a conquest for me. But if you want to keep going the way you are, please, by all means do. I'll just defeat you that much sooner. And then eventually they're just like, tell me more. Tell me more. I want to talk to you, Mr. Bad Guy. Mr. Dr. Doom, please tell me. Please. And it's really fun. And you can suck them in. And then the other players who's been sitting at the table watching this happen can't do anything because their characters don't know. But they're so annoyed at that player. And now you're building the soap opera, right? that girlfriend turns out to be actually a crazy psycho supervillain, or that boyfriend turns out to be the secret government agent who's actually just gotten in because they want to control your team, or whatever the case may be. And the soap opera builds and builds and builds. That soap opera, on top of the battles and on top of the triumphs, is what's going to keep them coming back to the table. If your players want to play a superhero game and they're not into the soap opera, they don't want to play a superhero game. Go play Exalted. Trust me on that. But if they're invested in the soap opera, go read the X-Men during the Claremont Byrne years. Soap opera. Go read 80s, mid 70s to mid 80s Avengers. Soap opera. New Teen Titans. Soap opera. And those were the biggest comics of their day for a lot of reasons, but the primary reason was soap opera. People were invested in the emotion. Go ahead, Sax.
No, I want to build on what you're saying, and it's true. I am finding that my Friday Heroics game is good because the players are investing into their own internal drama. They are picking at Imam's character for being such a we gotta follow the rules, and here's your paperwork from Asgard. You've got 48 hours to now, declare yourself. And one of the players, because he wanted to switch out his character, we basically had him now be tied up in court because he's going like, well, I don't want to be, do all of this. I'm taking Asgard to court. It's like, well, he's off the screen now, and that's sort of everyone's now looking at Imam's character going like, well, you caused this. Why are you following these stupid things to the letter? It's like, well, I have to. It's like, no, you don't. But it's generating a storyline where the players are investing in, and it's creating this odd tension, between the characters, but also a sense of camaraderie, because now they've just got to get through it.
So, Bear, you're not allowed to say anything that's wrong because Leonard's cooking.
Len can. What is that line from Ed Wood? Len is not fit to smell my shit. There we go. That's my Boris Karloff for the night. No, Len and I have a lot of stuff we agree on superheroes, and we have places we disagree on superheroes, and that's okay. That's what makes our friendship very interesting, because we can actually have conversations that aren't just, I agree. You know what I mean? Like, we can actually debate stuff sometimes. But superheroes are primarily pro wrestling with relationships at the end of the day. It's thyroid theater. And you have to be there for it. So that's what the middle point of the campaign in the superhero game should always be about. Beating villains, maybe getting some comedy villains that keep showing back up, that always get their ass kicked by the heroes, but they still show up, so the players always kind of start to feel bad that they're beating them. The soap opera, the betrayals, the meeting new characters, the discovering the world. All of this, them not realizing they're on the road to their ultimate fate. And that's the difference between the comics and the games. Comics can't have an ultimate fate. They have to keep going. They got to keep selling every month, right? You always got to reset to zero. Games don't have to. So you should be setting up your end game.
Yeah.
I'll admit to I don't have any real strong feelings about superheroes. I did read a few of the common comics back in the 80s. Haven't really read comics since. And I have to admit, I'm not a fan of soap operas. I'm not a fan of men in spandex, and I'm not a fan of pro wrestling. So that's
just you being a sticky wicket about everything you don't like.
Yeah, but John, I think you're looking at this from the wrong perspective, because you're just picking on like, okay, I don't like their costumes. Well, if you're making the character yourself, you can have it be as practical as you want to be. So you don't need to have spandex. You don't like the drama. Well, I beg to differ. Look at how you are interacting with Imam in the Albana game. So no, I'm gonna have to call you out on that. You love drama. You're feeding into it, and
you take me very literally. You take me very literally, don't you?
No, like, I'm calling you out because I'm not gonna let you say these things and then get away with it. You are not. Yeah. You are a filthy, dirty story gamer. You have admitted
really are.
Much. He really is. Your Call of Cthulhu game, absolutely, and I understand it is certainly much more of a story-driven one. But Codex Albana, it's Palladium, or at least it was until it's going to be switching over.
Yeah,
that's numerical, that's crunchy, that's in your area of D&D, and yet you've made a character who's not exactly the most optimized character. You made him to be a character with flaws, weaknesses, and insecurities that you're playing on. So you can take these aspects that you have from your fantasy world, you just transfer them into what will be a 1980s setting. And it's just fantasy on the high level. Go on.
Yogi, I want you to hear something.
Hold on. Robin Hood didn't wear spandex.
Okay, stop your nonsense. So, in college, I ran a superhero game, and my buddy Chris wanted to play a character called was Night Star or something. He was some sort of ninja character, and he wound up having a relationship with this NPC female superhero. But their primary villain was a character I stole from the Elementals called Shapeshifter, and she's an absolute vicious, horrific person.
Oh, I like that.
And she wound up kidnapping his girlfriend, and then pretending to be the girlfriend around until they exposed her and figured out the girlfriend was kidnapped. And then they went on this massive heroic campaign to get the girlfriend back. And when they finally get to the place, they beat the bad guys, they get to the room, they open the cage, there's his girlfriend. He goes running up and she starts screaming in terror from him. Later, the telepath in the group finds out why. The entire time Shapeshifter had been keeping her prisoner, she had been shapeshifting as him, coming into the room and abusing and torturing this woman, creating this whole thing. So he's, as a hero, he's gone through this whole epic quest. He's figured out that his girlfriend's been kidnapped. He's defeated the villainy. He's done it. He's saved the damsel in distress, and she's got PTSD, screaming nightmares about him, and can't be near him anymore. I've never seen a player's face collapse so hard at a table, but it was so good. It was so, even after he was like, man, that was a real head fuck. I never expected that. Like, well done. I'm like, welcome to my comics.
I mean, yeah.
It doesn't have to be, hi, I'm Captain Hero. I'm here to defeat villainy.
No, that's true.
Stop being a pedantic, facetious ass, sir.
It could be. I do enjoy character development. So if you want to describe that as the soap opera sort of thing,
that is soap opera.
It is.
And one of the things I am enjoying about our Call of Cthulhu game is seeing how the characters are changing. And I've mentioned him a few times, Andy. I am really looking forward to finding out just how he will go out with a bang, because he has to, and it's got to be imminent. Because that poor sod is he's on his way. Yes, that poor sod is just getting worse and worse and worse. For those who don't know in chat, I've broken the Call of Cthulhu rules with Andy's character, because Harold, his character, has had 0 sanity now for several months. And Andy keeps a diary log of the game. And around the point where he hit 0 sanity, he started putting these entries in that don't make entirely a lot of sense. And he's now sort of noting what happens in the game from his character's perspective, but there's inner thoughts in there, and they are getting weirder and weirder and weirder, and they make for great reading. And it's got to the stage now where he's starting to sing and chant in this little language that no one else quite understands. Andy's actually role playing that out. So I'm leaving it up to him when he really chooses to go. The players know as well that he's been entrusted with an artifact. But the characters don't quite know just what this artifact is or how potent it is. The players do. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with it.
I believe in the immortal words of Blackadder, Wibble.
Wibble indeed. Wibble indeed. Yes. But he hasn't gone as far as shoving pencils up his nose yet and putting his underpants on his head. So he hasn't quite gone that far. Blackadder reference for anyone who doesn't know. But say that. So the middle of the game is for character development, for characters to develop in power, for characters to develop relationships, interrelationships, and to develop
campaign development as well.
Yeah.
Not just character development.
But I like the character development to drive the campaign development.
Well, of course,
but it does.
Yes,
you can still have character development drive the campaign if it is in sci-fi, if it is in superheroes.
I didn't deny that. I didn't deny that.
Go on, Bear.
Thank you.
For
everyone watching at home, keeping score. I don't like soap operas, and I'm not really into that whole thing. But I would like the character development to fuel the campaign development. You don't even hear yourself speaking anymore, do you, man?
No, he doesn't.
No. I'm just trying to...
Go on. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish, John? What are you trying to say?
I'm making a very, very bad attempt at trying to get you pair riled up into have a conversation and bounce off each other.
That's just
and you're just diving into me. I'm not comparing this very well tonight, am I?
You want us literally all you have to do is turn around and say, you know what, Oscar, Saxius, Bear, can you two just like bounce off each other and like
would you like? Here we go. Okay, I think planning out every meticulous moment of everything is a waste of goddamn time because players are pure agents of chaos. So it's better to have just a couple of ideas, not write too much down, and then bounce off of what they do, keeping it organic and flowing freely. No charts. No spreadsheets, no master plans, no tallies of resources, none of that.
This is what we want.
See, I completely disagree. My God, you're wrong. You first and foremost said that you are developing into a world. You develop the world itself, but you gotta at least know what that world then consists of. You gotta be able to then say, right, this is I'm gonna be using the sci-fi because that's what I'm supposed to be sticking into. You gotta know what's going on within this sector. You gotta be knowing what factions are going on there. You gotta be knowing what is happening there because the events there is going to have an impact not just in the early stages, but also in the mid stages. The players are agents of chaos. Yes, they are coming in there like Star Sector, where there's a nice conglomeration where everyone's stuck in a gridlock, and then the players come in and smash it, and then that causes that opening for all hell to break loose.
Sure, but I don't need to know the price of grapple grumlets on Vegas 6.
You don't need to go into those level of details. I do, but yes, I do. And you know what? No, but here's the difference, though. You know why the price of grapple gremlins on Aurora 6 is important? Because then it's going to become an important part of the story. I'm not going to be starting to include that just because of red herring. It's like, no, there's a reason for why I've done that. There's the same reason for why if I take my Friday night campaign, I'll be going on about the stock market prices and the input for Foster Industries and why they're suddenly, being at the main limelight of the business news. And most of the players are going like, well, one of the players is playing a 17-year-old. I look at that player and go, what business insights do your character have? You've got none, so you can shut up. You're not allowed to make any character, input in here unless you do some legwork. The other character, Imam, who's got an actual degree and several masters and PhDs, has chosen a field of the ancient Egyptian and the occult. Why would he know anything about business? And the last player who's now stepped in and changed his character has a direct tie into it because, surprise, surprise, the Beetle is his goddamn boss. Ergo, there's no...
Real quick for Iman, have you looked at Prince Kali, Isis, and Bast from the NPCs? Since he has an Egyptian thing, just saying, throw that out.
I have looked at them.
No, but then you look. Okay, so that's all kidding aside. I respect the way Saxius runs his games. I don't agree with all of it. He doesn't agree with everything I do, and it's okay. That's the point. We can all bring our own thing to the game. John just wants us to fight because he knows that together we are stronger than he. Therefore, he must turn us against each other so that he, like whatever party is in the UK that does that, can still reign in power. But, sir, you failed. You failed because we made a coalition to take you down. And your only ally is crazy. He's a joker. I'm sorry, John. You lose on this one, my friend. And now you have to play a sci-fi game.
And now that we've more or less discussed, the The middle being the point where we've established, where the players are going to, the drama of the character, the drive of their ambition is now the forefront, the steam that is pushing them onward. How do we then begin the end? What is the beginning of the end for such campaigns? Because we all know that when players come to the table, they go, we want this to be epic. We want this to be awesome. We want the finale to be satisfying. Because very few people are going to have the drive to then sit and say, we're going to play the same characters for 10 years.
It's when the machinations of the villain, the one that's maybe, as Bear said, maybe they've encountered him once or twice along the way. Maybe he's got under their skin a little bit along the way, but he's been elusive. But it's where his machinations really begin to take hold, become an imminent threat. It's where you start driving up the stakes. It's where things that become more world-shattering you start hinting at something big is happening now. Maybe an army is moving. Maybe the villain has performed his most dastardly deed. You start by getting the main villain mentioned more and more and more often. That's how I'd start it anyway.
Right.
You don't think so, Bear?
No.
Not me, baby.
Not you.
But I'll let Sax go first.
Well, speaking from the point of view of sci-fi, as I was saying, the drive of the players is what's now going to be at the forefront. Because when it comes to sci-fi, you are dealing with, traveling the stars, or you're able to, go across a planet, or anything of that form. The fear of, this planet's gone, we're just going to move to the next one. No, there's a goal there. Whether it's going to be Battlestar Galactica, where we must finally find a place of bringing all these final survivors of humanity to. Because that has been the goal from the get-go. You are the survivors in the Battlestar Galactica world. Or it can be much like Star Trek, where you have, by one way or another, accidentally thrown away, of course, you're into an unknown area. You must now plot your way back. You finally found your way of returning back into the Federation space, but you are being hunted by, I don't know, the Borgs is something I know from Star Trek, and you're just going, well, we don't want to be assimilated. We need to escape, but also more importantly, we need to get that warning out there that this loophole, this wormhole that we are going to be entering through, they will be hot on our tails. We need the Federation to be ready. You will have, it doesn't need to be the galaxy will burn 40k level. It can be as boiled down, as simple as the players have finally been able, and I'm going to use Star Smart number here, they've finally been able to break through the shackles that's tied them to their ship. They're finally able to take their families, their loved ones, away from whatever hellhole that they're in and say, we are retiring comfortably because we've finally broken out and we've become free. And you don't need to go beyond that for a story like that, where you've been struggling and fighting, which is something that many of us in real life can understand, having mortgages and other debts piling up to here. Being able to suddenly look at the players in the eye and say, you are now financially free.
So how do you get them to undertake that one big final epic mission that's going to end the campaign when they are on the brink of retirement? I mean, don't we all know the story that you don't announce you're about to retire because you die the next day?
I'm not understanding the question.
How do you get, moving towards the end of a campaign?
Yeah.
If the characters in a sci-fi game, if the characters are in a position where they've made enough and they can retire and they're comfortable, how do you then get them to undertake that one last memorable mission that will bring the campaign to a real satisfying conclusion?
Okay, let me bring you back to what I said when I talked about the middle.
Mhm.
I said I would be asking this directly to the players. The players have set the goal. The players have dedicated themselves. Their drive is what is pushing them beyond the middle ground towards the end. That is both in character conversation, that is out of character conversation, and that is where the group has sat down in and out of character and gone, this is it. This is our goal.
So
This
their
is what
goal
we
is their goal is to retire comfortably.
I am giving that as an example, and you haven't listened to the rest of it. The other examples I gave, no, for fuck's sake, John. The other examples I literally gave was, fuck, you've made me angry now. The other example I've actually given you is Battlestar Galactica, where you've got 50,000 human beings. That is the remainder of a human civilization, and you've now actually found a place for them to live, to start over Earth. While you've been
But
hunted.
that one last mission is Baltar and the Cylons are right there, and they have to defeat them and prevent them from letting the rest of the Cylon Empire know where they are.
You need to keep your civilization hidden. You need to protect them, which may mean you need to give your life creating the blanket screen that will stop them from ever probing into your lands. Equally so, Star Trek. You are lost out in the midst of of unknown space. You can't just open up a map and go, here's where we are. You don't know where you are. You have no map. You are trying to find your way home. You've now maybe just found a chance of getting home, but you have a hostile civilization on your tail that will assimilate you, take your knowledge, and if they get your knowledge, they will come back to the Federation. And the Federation is where your home is, where your loved ones is, and you don't want them to be kidnapped and turned into cyborgs. So, John, no, I gave you 3 major examples.
But now I've made you angry, and you've gone into more detail. So
no,
my poking and prodding has worked there.
Gentlemen,
please take him before I kill him.
Fighting in the war room. No fighting in the war room, gentlemen. All right, let me counter this to basically put him on someone else's scent for a while Sax composes himself.
I just wanted to go into hold on there. I just wanted to go into a little more detail because just saying the battle.
So was it incapable of you to go, hey Sax, can you go into more detail on that? No, you had to manipulate and play emotional games. Come on.
Oh,
you story gamer, and that was dirty, filthy story gamer move.
You turned this into a war, so I'm just using.
You turned this into a war. He started. We wanted to set us against each other. Okay, so let's imagine you're the Avengers, and you've spent the entire campaign fighting against other villains, but primarily the machinations of Dr. Doom. And he's always been doing mysterious stuff, and he's always been gathering items and even maybe attracting other superheroes and supervillains to his cause. And he's been making a team that some of your friends have joined. And you're like, why have they turned against us? What's going on? I don't understand. But you've always been focusing on Dr. Doom as the villain. And then you enter the end game, and you find out Thanos is coming. And Doom is actually known all along, and everything he's been doing has been trying to prevent Thanos's wrath that is about to impact you all. And now as heroes, in the end game, you got to team up with this asshole you've been fighting all along, work together, and stop this massive threat that is about to destroy the world, destroy everything, take the whole thing down. Oh my God. And it's not one session. It's going to be 5 or 6 sessions. It's an end game run now. Remember I said we start with 5, we go into the middle? Well, now we're ending with 5. And the final event of that campaign should be victory, hopefully, for the players. At least 1 or 2 sacrifices to achieve goals where characters have died. And then the other side of it is, because it's a superhero game, cool. Let's go play some D&D for a few sessions, or maybe a month or 2, and then we're going to pick up the new arc of this story later with some of you having to make new characters because they died. The world has changed. Let's see where it goes from here. Or book closed, chapter closed. We're never visiting this earth again. All those options available to you. But you make it that the end game has everything to do with what they've been doing all along through the midsection, preferably without realizing it. Now, is that enough detail for you? You want to try and piss me off? And see if you
No, absolutely. No, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I guess I'm here to talk D&D more in this one, and of course it's a much more simple approach of there's a big bad evil guy that they've got to deal with, and they've got to get powerful enough, and the satisfaction comes from finally dealing with that individual. And okay, I'm simple. You don't get the degree of depth from me, I guess, or do you? They'll find out in Call of Cthulhu, Horror on the Orient Express, quite how that pans out at the end. But I don't. I find something. I find the idea of the heroes settling down at the end with enough gold, enough money, enough whatever to be comfortable, and just drifting off into a comfortable life. I find that a little bit unsatisfying.
Don't you love Hawk the Slayer?
Never seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the entire point of the story, is a bunch of adventurers who retired get dragged out for one last mission. They've all gone on with their lives. They're no longer an adventuring party. They're doing what they do. Some of them are retired. Some of them are just kind of faffing about. And they all get brought back together for one big event.
See, and one part of the reason why I want you guys to go into that a little bit more detail is, as you know, I am shit when it comes to watching films. I've never seen Battlestar Galactica. I've never seen any of the new Marvel Universe stuff. So I've heard that Thanos is a big bad guy in it. I have no idea what he looks like or what he does. So I want you to describe the goings on. I know everyone in chat's probably seen it, but I haven't, because I'm crap. I don't watch many films.
Go ahead. So. Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
In the very opening scenes, you basically watch as a robotic race known as the Cylons come in and do a surprise attack against the human empire.
Under the flag of an armistice of truth after 1,000 years of war.
Yeah. It's a major event. And this catches the humans by surprise. And they are now on the run. Their population has gone from the billions to about 50,000.
Right, okay.
So take that in perspective for you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Birmingham. That's now your world. Now cut down the population to just 50,000 people.
Birmingham would get better if that happened.
Okay. Your facetious comedy aside.
Okay, John, take it serious. Because you're asking us to educate you in about this, at least with internet.
I'm listening. I am listening. I'm just chirping. I thank you for giving me those details. So yeah, I get the idea now.
So the idea that he's saying is that basically their entire civilization is on the line.
Yes. Yeah. And the story is then based around you're trying to escape the Cylons. You're trying to survive. You're also trying to find a new place. And these are 3 major points. And with the end being that you find a new place to survive. But you need to make sacrifices along the way. There is great character development. There is great moments of heroism. There's great moments of sacrifices and betrayal.
And comedy.
And a lot of comedy between it, yeah. And that basically puts forward a fantastic series. I would wholeheartedly recommend for you to watch, or even just take the movie. And it puts a lot of its perspective into, how far are you willing to go to have the majority and the legacy of the human race endure? Because there's a lot of provocative questions that get asked in this. And I know you mentioned that the idea of retirement is unsatisfying to you. Well, imagine a campaign. A year where I sit at the end of each campaign month, and I go, you now have to pay me X amount. I will now take away X amount of your resources. And you are consistently finding yourself that the harder you try to work, the more I try to take away from you. Being able to break free and knowing that the rest of the world is as oppressed as you are in this situation, being able to say, I am my own person now. That is a core thing, but that's requiring you to buy into that you want to escape this dystopian world.
Mhm.
That the idea that you are getting free from that. And again, I'm using this as an example because many of my other friends and players, they like this concept because it's something that they can immediately see in their own lives. And it's something that many of them fantasize that they get to escape. So this escapism is now something that that we can bring to the table for them, and they can see the, in a strange way, the American dream of hard work pays off.
Speaking of hard work
Or hardly working.
or hardly working, here we have Iman. When I was thinking about the end of a campaign, I like there to be something massive and memorable in those final sessions. Bear alluded to it, having that big confrontation with the true enemy. Maybe learn who the true enemy is. I think that's having a reveal like that is always interesting. I think in many ways, most of my experience in role-playing games is through playing D&D adventures, and there's not much of the sort of the mysterious enemy in those. So it might be that I'm a little naive and I haven't experienced these sort of big betrayals and big sort of
don't worry, you're playing
twists at the end.
You're playing in one with me once a month.
Yeah, well, no doubt we'll find out. No doubt we'll find out. These are things that I probably need to experience, but it's all part of role playing. Lots of different experiences, lots of different endings. I do enjoy having a massive battle at the end where there will be sacrifice, lives lost, as has already been mentioned, and a mixture of sadness and elation. I think that's important. Sadly, many campaigns, as people have said, don't get that far because they fizzle out, which is really, really quite sad. Or, Cole, you live in Chelmsford Wood. My parents nearly bought a house in Chelmsford Wood when I was 4. Very nearly. So we have Iman joining us. We're talking about beginning, middle,
Yes.
and end of games.
I caught the first half hour, maybe 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
But then things picked up and I had to. But I'm here late, but here. I hope Joker's been keeping you guys company.
Oh, Joker said hello to everybody.
I'm here.
He's here. What do you look for in the beginning of a game to get you sort of to buy into it, get you to get everything set for you?
Obviously, the DM will have some sort of established world, right? And I want to find the thing that I could, or the things that I can latch onto in that world that make me want to play more of it and see more of it and investigate and you know.
When I brought up the example of how Horror on the Orient Express started, quite a gentle sort of scene setting. You encountered an NPC who had a connection to all of you, but then he got badly maimed, which made you as players, gave you as players a reason to want to, because you'd got to know him, you found out he was a good bloke, so gave you as a players something to get your teeth into. And then there was the body in the library and all that sort of thing. But then suddenly, Bears talked about having something dangerous in the soon after the beginnings, 4th, 5th, 6th session, something really dangerous happening. And for that campaign, it was Doom Train that suddenly ramped things up.
Okay, that's fair.
And
I mean, I would argue that point was the house fire. House fire was really where things started to get going, no?
You were never really in any real threat, though, were you, in that house fire in terms of personal threat? I don't know whether you were nervous as players at all by this point. was still more sort of scene
I was
setting,
new
wasn't
to
it?
role-playing games. Yeah, I think so. But me being new to role-playing games, and especially campaign games, I was like,
Mhm.
oh God, they could kill us at any point. They obviously know that we're affiliated with him and, all that sort of stuff.
But that first scenario was the campaign intro. I mean, those first
Yeah.
3 or 4 sessions in London were very much the campaign intro. The idea was for you to get to know each other, for the characters to get to know each other, and for you to just sort of get the lay of the land. Yeah, the house fire did kick off the actual orientation.
Yeah, that's the inciting event. That's the thing that kicks you off on the road.
Yes.
But IQ, Iman,
Yes,
the
sir.
tardy. What was
Yes.
the trial by fire in Codex Albana? No one tell him. What was the few sessions in event that forged you guys as a sword of steel?
No?
Don't know? Might it have been a village of women and wolves and all that crazy shit you had to go through where it was pretty sure all of you were going to die one way or another?
Then there were 2 because I thought it was the battle with the beastmen outside the inn.
That was just an event. It was when you got to that village and you had to come together as a team to survive.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that is a much bigger event with a lot more pieces that are moving around. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because right after
me
the fight
as a player,
at the roadhouse,
like, that was
you
the
guys
first...
kept these. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go on.
No, I insist.
I was just going to say that was the first like big combat that we all came together as a group. You know what I mean?
Yes, but right after the roadhouse, after you had this big combat as a group, you immediately disintegrated back into sniping at each other and being shitty.
That's how we are as characters.
No, because
that's how Devere is, at least.
No, think about this. After the battle and the survival of the village, you guys made it to Ambria. You went through what you went through there, and then you made it up to Drael, and you guys have been slowly forming and working as a group more and more and more and more as each session has gone by. That's why that village is the trial by fire, because that's what made you guys realize if we don't work together, we die.
Yeah.
Because you see the difference when you went to the, with the castle, how, like Ethane and I think it was Malachi's character, immediately sort of huddled together to defend one another once they were surrounded by, the dream demon. And how the group, even though they split up, there was still the unity between Devere's character and the rest. As he's focused upon his squire, the tension between him and the beastman, and the other players going like, the beastman wouldn't do that. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that was where you saw the connective tissue. Yeah, but the connective tissue didn't become muscle until after you survived the village.
I completely agree. The village was definitely where the players had to make or break, and the after effects is then seen in the when they're confronted by by the demon.
It was about the time that Cody's character got taken off to go procreate, and we were all locked up in the cell, that I was seriously questioning, all right, we need to fucking work together here.
Yeah. And even Devere stopped being a complete twat. That sounds like a Frenchman saying it. To work together. And now I can't wait for the next session now.
Let's just hope we can all make it.
No, we're playing. Listen, one of 2 things is happening. If someone cancels, their character dies. Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair.
And if it's a Thane, oh well. Looks like your Pendrick cycle failed.
Oh, fuck. Well, we can't have that.
Xnard Prime has asked here, do any seasoned GMs care to explain games where the player characters accrue powers and valuable items through non-combative, low lethality risk, scavenging investigation much? In Call of Cthulhu,
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, the whole point of Call of Cthulhu, the whole point of Call of Cthulhu is to try to avoid the the lethal nature of combat and to develop your skills and knowledge through investigation. And the basic role-playing mechanics, as we have mentioned earlier in the stream, your characters improve. This is, I mean, for those who don't know how basic role, I didn't know whether it was all basic role-playing games, because I'm only familiar with Call of Cthulhu. But the way you improve a skill in each chapter of the game, if you successfully use a skill, you put a little check mark next to it. You successfully use a skill by rolling under your total on percentage dice. So, say for example, you've got a 10% chance of tracking, and somehow you pull it off. You put a little tick there. If you've got an 80% chance of hitting someone with a shot from your pistol, you put a little tick there. At the end of the scenario, you go through all the skills that you've got ticked, and you then make another check. If you then fail that check, you gain 1d10 points in that skill. Thus, if you succeed during the adventure in something you're bad at, you are more likely to have learned from what you've done. If you succeed,
it's harder once you get higher in skills to actually raise that skill.
Yes. So once you're at sort of 70-80% in a skill, your odds of it improving are low.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a base 1% in everything minimum,
pretty
apart
much
from Cthulhu Mythos.
Yes. And I've seen players succeed in with 1% chance before, but it doesn't happen very often. Of course,
I saw it happen to you on live stream. You got a 1.
You did, yeah, you did. So that's how player characters can improve by investigation, as I say, low lethality risk. And in D&D, the way I see, going back to AD&D, where it had a training mechanic, the way I've always seen D&D experience points, old school D&D, when it had training, is that characters aren't so much learning from what they do. They're gathering the resources to go and visit someone who is better than them, who can train them in new abilities. Thus, the idea of getting in, getting the loot, and getting out, and investing it in improvement starts to make sense. That's how I see it. But other people disagree with me on that. So there we go. I've answered that question. Right. So campaign endings. Is it ever satisfying to have a campaign end with the death of every character in the game?
How big a bunch of twats were they?
That's if
Satisfying
they continue everybody involved.
I mean, rocks fall, everybody dies.
That can always happen, but genuinely through their actions, a catastrophic failure, the campaign ends in absolute disaster, and that is it. Is that ever satisfying for everybody involved?
No, of course not.
So
I'd say some, but not all.
So
how many times have you gone through that, Ivan? How many times have you seen a campaign end?
Never had a campaign end
when
yet.
you get there, you'll know it's never satisfying. People just kind of get defeated by it, you know. We all died. Rogue One wasn't a campaign; it was a movie. It had writers and editors.
See, maybe I'm still new to the hobby and I'm full of naive hope, but I'd like to think that at the end of Horror on the Orient Express that I'd be, satisfied with it.
Oh, maybe, but you're all going to die or go crazy.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Sax?
I've already had a character die, so,
Yeah, but it takes a special kind of buy-in. If you're going to have a group of players who at the end, and they go, yay, we all died. It's usually, if that happens, they must feel that they've done it for a greater purpose, or even in their death, they managed to accomplish something. I've only really seen that be done in the Warhammer 40k role-playing games when I played only War. But that is where you are playing a straight-up meat grinder, where you will be blasting through characters like nothing else, and you will throw your characters at the enemy like they're candy, for the pure sake of trying to do a difference for the wider campaign. That's a very different buy-in, and usually those campaigns are short because they're not.
Yeah,
it's not the long-term fun that I want.
seriously. If you run first edition in AD&D or old school essentials by the book, no flubbing, dice rolled in the open for everyone to see, and the dice are the final arbitrator, you will understand the expression fantasy fucking Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You will understand it quickly. It's story time. Tinkerbell, turn the page.
But that's the thing. Look, a D&D adventure ending in everyone dying. That sucks. A Call of Cthulhu adventure. It's kind of parcel of the experience, right?
Yeah, but
that's an adventure though. We're talking about a campaign, an ongoing. I mean, if it's a one-shot scenario, a single adventure, it's very different to a campaign.
Let me ask you a question, Iman. You play in the Codex Albana campaign.
I do.
If next session everybody died because we had a combat and it just went wrong and everybody got killed, would you feel satisfied?
No.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Like, Call of Cthulhu has acquired its reputation because they have produced modules and one-shots with the explicit intent of killing off as many characters as they can for that. Mm-hmm. So that reputation is from a very specific corner of that role-playing game. Yeah. Whereas if you look at your Orient Express, yes, there are lethalities, but you will also see that there is a longer game at play here. Mm-hmm. Things are being dragged out, and your characters are being dragged down psychologically, maybe also physically and emotionally. And that's the intent. It is a slow burner at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. The shorter scenarios are written to be played in 2 or 3 sessions and be much more immediate and memorable. And a catastrophic failure in those scenarios can be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because it's the hell.
Little side. I have to ask the question. Who ran the scenario that I'm planning to run? Did you want
to? Pardon, Iman, you're locking up.
Sorry, did I drop out?
Yeah.
The scenario that I'm planning to run, did you run that in 1 or 2 sessions?
Typically 2 sessions. It can be run in 1.
Okay.
It can be run in 1. But you do have to push. If to run it in 1, you have to push things along a little bit. You have to get you have to get them involved quite quickly.
Okay.
And there are ways to do that. And it's pacing the game is something you'll learn. Don't expect to get it right first time. Don't worry. Just let it happen naturally. If it runs into 2 sessions, then it does. It doesn't matter. Thank you, Doc Flamingo. There are ways to handle a total party kill. Yes, bring in avenging replacement characters. 300 the situation. 1 mangled survivor becomes an NPC quest giver. Yes, those are all ways of doing it. And looking back at the way D&D was intended to be run when it first began, players were meant to have stables of characters for that very purpose. You weren't meant to have one character that you were focusing on in a big, long story. You were meant to have a folder of characters that you developed over time. And if you put all your effort into your 7th level fighter and your 1st level mage and your 1st level thief were gathering dust, and your 7th level fighter dies, it was on you. It was all part of playing the game. But it was designed to be a lot more episodic. Because it was designed, you'd go into the dungeon, the session would be in the dungeon, you'd come out, gather your XP, And then the next session, you'd go into maybe the same dungeon again, or go into a different dungeon. Choose your characters, whatever. It was a simpler way of playing. Sections.
Well, I'll just move it away from Call of Cthulhu and D&D, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
What? No, that's the language everybody speaks.
I know, but I don't want to tonight.
Good. I'm
So-
with you.
So for the sci-fi, once you come towards the end, you should, as a group, know where you're going, and that should be established. Great, and the DM at that point can then put more details into what the ultimate thing is. If it is going to be a string of adventures, if it is going to be a string of events, or if it is going to be a number of things that they have to accomplish or overcome. But that's going to become the thing when you get towards the end, because at that point it is, for Stars Without Number, it is not so much about, you got to do this to earn X amount of money. It's about you have to achieve goals. And again, using Stars Without Number, throughout the very beginning, you don't get XP from completing contracts. You get XP by setting personal goals. And then as you play, you want your characters to accomplish their goals, because then you get XP. And you will have long-term goals, medium-term goals, and short-term goals. Mm-hmm. And this is then what is driving your characters. Your long-term goals are usually what you want your character to achieve at the end of the campaign. And these things can change as you play the game. And what you will find is that a good DM will start having all of these goals slowly get towards the same funnel. And everyone either adjusts or changes, and then they move towards to achieve the same thing. Go on, Bear.
Sorry, I've got to put down a giant cat that's very happy, so he's going to be very mad at me here. Okay. Hang on. Bye. Okay, so yeah. So short-term goal, get off the farm. Medium-term goal, join the Imperial Academy, become a great pilot. Long-term goal, get revenge on the asshole who killed my dad. Oops, the adventure went on. Now my short-term goal is learn to be a Jedi, and my long-term goal is redeem my father, who turned out to be the guy that killed my father.
Mm-hmm.
That's how goals change.
Yeah, they change, and it is a part of character growth and development that your goals change. My goal when I was 12 years old is not the goal that I'm having now when I'm 31. My goodness, there's a big difference. And that's the same that you're going to be seeing with the characters, and it should be okay for that to be done. But again, I'm going to go back to the whole thing of like the players will develop at the midpoint. They should be developing, where is it we're heading? Again, it doesn't have to be like anything, one specific thing. It should be like a general thing, a course that they're devoting themselves to. And at that point, it's worth for their characters to sort of go, well, all of these things are aligning in this point. Or if you as a DM, if you're communicating with your players, you will find things and you will work things in, and you can then twist some of these plans to then start merging together and will form a lovely bow tie towards the end, where you can then tie it all up. Character arcs are completed, mission accomplished, and you can sail off into the sunset for other adventures that happens in the future or whatever. But the point is, this is the cutoff. And I haven't had, again, for the many years I've been running and playing campaigns, it's hard to always get a 100% satisfaction, but it requires your players to buy in and contribute to feel that satisfaction, to feel that their impact made a difference. As Bear's been saying from the heroic point, actions from the beginning should be echoing throughout the campaign towards the very end.
It's been a running theme. And the whole thing about player buy-in to what the DM's presenting has been a running theme for the last few streams. It is key for a successful campaign, absolutely key. And the player, and I think the player needs to be able to communicate those goals clearly as well.
Oh, definitely, but they're not going to know it from the very get-go.
Of course.
And that's why you're going to have the beginning being where they get to learn their characters. They're going to get to learn, the environment and so on. And that's usually why, for me, the midpoints. That's where the players are going to go, right. We know what we're on about. We know what we're going to be doing, and now we're going to go on to then do, the build up. The meaty chunks, which will then set us on the path to then hoist off towards the end goal. At least from the sci-fi perspective, that's the concepts. And I mean, I can use a number of my sci-fi games, but it's generally towards you should learn. Your characters. You should learn about your characters. Characters should learn about the world. And in an odd way, you should find yourself, or they should find themselves and their true goals at that point.
And in a sort of a very specific sense, I mean, I'm going to refer back to Horror on the Orient Express again. When they started out, they got a very basic outline of what they needed to do. They didn't really question the why and the how or anything like that. They were just like, right, this is what we need to do. Let's gather a bit of information on it. Off we go. Now, what I'm finding in the sessions is the characters are really discussing the how and the why, the nitty gritty, the details. And are you noticing that, Iman? How you're discussing, well, what do we actually do when we get to Constantinople? How do we actually go through with this? How do we put this information to good use? What are the ramifications of constructing the simulacrum? You're starting to really discuss the details, and I think the detail of the ultimate goal is becoming more. It's growing in your minds as the campaign is going on naturally. Yes,
I've noticed it. I've taken part in it, and I very much enjoy it because that is what the characters would do.
Yeah.
And especially us as players as well. The more information we have, the more we sink our teeth into it, and then the more questions we have, which leads to more answers and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Sax.
Sorry, Sax.
Well, I just wanted to turn over to Bear if he's open to share his thoughts, or if you want us to continue on.
What thoughts regarding what? I tuned out because I just kept hearing about Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, so we're now on about the end of the campaigns, because you mentioned about
I've
the
got
big
nothing more
finale.
to add at this point in time other than anecdotes because I've said exactly what I would do. Everything ties back to the beginning. Oh, fuck you.
I will change that eventually.
Oh, sorry. Let me translate that for you.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just poking the bear.
Yeah, it's going to poke back in about 3 weeks when I see you at a church. 4 weeks. Anyway, tie to the beginning, make sure that all the middle counted, and make it epic and worthwhile at the end.
So how do you then go about making it epic?
Well, I've already told you. They've been fighting Dr. Doom, but it turns out Dr. Doom's been prepping to fight Thanos, and now they've got to team up with Dr. Doom, who's still going to fucking betray them at the last minute because he's figured out that Thanos has some sort of power that he can use himself. So his whole game is to steal that power from Thanos. And then the players, after defeating Thanos, realize Dr. Doom has the power, and now they got to fight their original enemy anyway. It's a double fucking whammy.
That's my mistake. I thought you'd be going into mechanics, preparations. Here's my spreadsheets.
No, I'm not you. I'm not you. No.
Bear doesn't care about mechanics. We should know that by now.
Oh, I do.
No, he does.
As much as is fucking needed.
Yeah, like there's a difference. Like it's quite clear. Like I mean, hey, I submitted something to you, Bear, the other day, and
I haven't even looked at it yet.
No, that's fine. That's fine. My point is, I did that. I was like,
dude, you obsessed. Just the message alone. You're like, I would never. I was like, what is wrong with this guy? I'll read it. It's great.
A lot. But that's
Is it what you showed me yesterday?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Let's move on. My point is... Jesus Christ, you people. My point is, Bear uses the system until it is a hindrance.
Yes.
I work within the system to abuse players.
Yeah.
Characters.
I am and always shall be a dirty filthy story gamer.
That's my go on.
Right. So you've got this sort of end goal in mind. The
I've got a
campaign is
question
heading.
for you regarding
Oh.
Go on.
endings.
Oh,
Go on, then.
interrupting much,
Yeah.
huh?
So
Go on then.
we-
Go on then.
this I'm going to talk about Call of Cthulhu, but this is a more general question. So we have a player who's joined in literally halfway, so she didn't experience the beginning.
Yeah.
Her character didn't experience anything that our characters have until now. How do you get her invested, and what's going to be her sort of perception of the ending and how that's going to come about and such? Because it's going to be different to us who've been here the whole way.
For me, it's as much the job of the rest of you lot to develop the attachments to her and get her to develop her help develop her attachment to you. And I think you've done a good job of that, so that she actively wants to help now. You helped her. She wants to help you in return. And you've proven yourselves to be good people to her. And what was lucky with that character is that she'd experienced a great loss. She had no ties to her past life anymore. So without her father there, with her mother absent, long gone, probably, I think she's dead. I can't remember what happened to her mother, but she's got her family ties. But what she has got is she's got a group of friends who saved her life, who she's indebted to, but it's now up to you to impress on her the gravity of what you're doing, and you're doing that.
Well, I mean, we're certainly trying. At least I think we are.
Yeah. Hello, Mage. But no, what I mean, that's how we've done that, and I've left it up to you guys as much as anything.
Regarding what Sax just said, with like, you know, you sort of have to like merge the players' like wants and goals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still something that we're doing as well as you?
Yeah, we're doing it as a whole group. We are working all together. That's why the campaign's working.
Okay.
So
same goes for you guys as well, though. Like introducing a new player to an existing campaign, you know, that where stuff has already happened, and you know, go on. Teach me.
how much do they already know? Because if we've hit the midpoint, I do not invite people in. People that are invited in come recommended.
Okay.
So they are friend of a friend, or someone, they're a friend of someone who's sitting at the table. And my questions usually become, well, how much do they know about our current campaign?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, are they caught up? Or are we going to have to sit down and basically go like, right, here is 20 sessions worth of stuff that you now need to know about, so that you as a player can understand why these people are important. And are we now going to be dedicating 1 or 2 sessions of your character, like doing the whole mingling thing? Like, what's the impact for the game? Because I am, by the midpoint, my gates are shut. You're being led in by recommendation and by trust.
Okay.
So that's where I stand on that. You know, I've had my new world D&D game. We've had someone that's been introduced in. Now he came recommended from another player that I trust, and that player had then gone out of his way to sit down and basically give that other player the full rundown to make sure he was up to speed. Great. I then sat down with that player and I said, right, before you're sitting at my virtual table, I need to shoot the shit with you, because I need to know if A, I'm going to gel with you, to all of these other things. So I did my vetting process and I found out I liked him. And then I basically went, right, what's the stick of your character? Okay, this is the stick of your character. Well, how can we bring him in here? So I then came up with the whole thing of like, here's how you're shipwrecked. This is how it is. This is how you're being introduced. And it worked great because we had done all the prep work to make sure that he came in. There was an immediate buy-in from the group going, oh, you are from the other ships that are supposed to be bringing us resources. Well, that means you're from the old world. That means you're supposed to be a part of our community. So that's an immediate like incentive for them to pick him up and go adventuring with him, rather than, oh, you're just some stranger. So
I mean,
that's,
I think
okay.
a lot depends on the type of game you're playing, and the nature of how you run your table and your reason for gaming.
Yeah.
Certainly with Orient Express, it is an episodic campaign, and it's quite easy to bring in new characters between episodes. Because there's all manner of people on the train, people that you're meeting along the way, and each chapter can easily be adapted to run as a standalone adventure if necessary. Most of them can. So that is easy, but if it's one ongoing story arc, it can be more difficult. I think with what Saxius did, having a player explain everything that's happened is crucial in that sense. I'm running the games on the Discord for one purpose, really. I want to get people playing with new people who they don't always play with, people of the similar sort of mindset, and to discover and hopefully enjoy new games. So if somebody, this particular player, I'd played as a player in a session with her as a fellow player several months back, and I knew that she was a committed role player. I knew that she would lean heavily into a role-playing type game. So I knew that when she expressed an interest in playing Call of Cthulhu, and she seemed to like the idea of the horror, didn't have any sort of queasiness about certain aspects of it, I thought she'd be a good player to add. And I think she's come in quite naturally, quite organically. I think it's worked, but that it helps because of the nature of the game, the nature of the campaign. I'm just going to respond to Orc Call. Right. Orc Call has asked this. Well, I've asked him a question. We have maybe 2 sessions left in our current fantasy campaign. How do you guys handle what happens next? I mean, go on, Saxius.
How much have you done to analyze your characters, your players, and the characters' goals? Have you sat down and gone, right, what is the end goal? Because if you're coming towards the end, have you been chronologically looking at their patterns, at their trajectories, at their personalities, their ambitions, their drives, and their psychological profiles? Now, this sounds like a lot, but the players are most likely going to be telling you. I'm going to use my new world game. I know the dwarf wants to settle down. I know he wants to build a temple to his gods in this new world. I know he has just recently come to terms with the fact that his family is probably going to be disowning him, yet I'm still going to be putting him through the emotional turmoil of being disowned. I know the paladin's going to be traveling back to the old world because he has a quest that is going to take him back to the old world because he needs his chance of redemption is here in the new world, but his mission is in the old world. I know the ranger has to settle an old grudge between him and a drow, and that needs to be done, which is a key part of the story. The gnome warlock is here to establish the cult of Cthulhu, and the diviner is here to basically try to expunge the cult of Dagon, which is currently repeating the cycle that is bringing the Fae out into the warpath. This is my analysis of my players, and I know that I can basically tailor my campaign where all of them get the ties and the bows that allows them to say, this is an awesome ending for my character. Some of them are going to continue on, others are going to be settling down. That's the investment I have been putting into my campaign. That's the investment I've been receiving back from my players because they communicated these things to me, and because I've had NPC and out-of-character communications with them to get an idea for what they want.
My approach is very simplistic. I play those final 2 sessions. I would close the book, and I'd say to the players, "What do you want to do next?"
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm with John on that one.
And if they say we'd like to keep going, then you keep going.
Great. No, then unlike John, I would say great. Your characters are going to have 3 years of downtime between now and the next session.
Oh, fair enough.
Each of you send me what that character does with the wealth they have, the power they've accumulated, all these things, what their next 3 years of life are.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. That is assuming they've settled, that it's come to a point in the campaign where they can settle down with wealth. But yeah, and then you take it up 3 years later with them dealing with the consequences of what they've been doing for the last 3 years. Has their partial retirement allowed forces to rise in the north? Have the merchants started walking the streets at night rather than daytime because the clerics have been busy getting fat on all the wealth that has been brought in by the party and donated to the temples? Who knows?
Have their taxes been filed correctly?
Oh my God!
That's what Saxius would do. But yeah, I give the choice to the players. I very much give the choice to the players. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Sometimes it is nice. Sometimes if you've had a satisfying end to a campaign, it is sometimes nice to just close that book and say, well done, fellas. Let's just chill out for a bit and have a chat about what we want to do next.
No, I get it.
But that does lead me to a question I was going to bring up a little while ago. You have this big end planned in your head that you really, really want the players to experience, whether it's the players with the current characters or characters that die along the way, whatever. Is there anything you do to make sure that end is achieved and experienced? Any little tricks you have to make sure it happens?
Well, what trick do you need? If you want it to happen, it happens. You're the arbiter of the events. How the players react to it is their investment. To use the dirty agency word, their agency is how they react to your agency.
Mm-hmm.
And then your agency becomes how you react to their agency. So I would need a more specific example than the vagary you just gave me. Sorry.
I'm trying to think of a specific example.
Okay. I wanted to set up Bunny in the Heroic game to be betrayed. Heroic has a wonderful thing called karma. I needed an event to happen. I said, okay, hey, Bunny, hate to break the news to you. Here's some karma. Something's about to happen. And she rolled with it because she's a dirty, filthy story gamer. And she was happy to have the event happen, and it worked out well, and it left us on a cliffhanger, and life was great. Other players would be like, don't I get a roll? I should get a save.
That was a good part of that story. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
No, it's props to you and your players. It's pulled off fantastically.
Thank you again. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be all based on player buy-in and your commitment to making it fun. And not just being like, actually, no, you don't kill the villain because he... Okay, you need to stop GMing.
Yeah, if you do that, yeah, you do need to stop GMing.
You're a bad GM.
Yeah.
You need to reconsider everything and maybe, Magic the Gathering's more your speed. Just say.
Wait, I missed that. Sorry. What makes you a bad GM? My internet cut out.
So the players managed to thwart Dirk Dastardly's plan to plunge the kingdom into chaos, but you go, actually, no. He has immunity to fireballs and swords, and you didn't defeat him as he flees off into the night to strike again later. Like, you need to stop GMing. Your players earned a victory. They earned it. The secret is later when they want to keep playing those characters and they find out 4 or 5 sessions into that campaign, what do you mean Dirk Dastardly survived? We killed him. And now they have an investment. Now they're like, well, this time that bastard stays dead. You know?
How much control do you give players over what is the end of the campaign?
I don't know.
Have I gone again?
I don't know.
I mean, for example, you've got this idea of
I have all that.
the paladin leading the holy knights against the hordes from hell, supported by the party that he has led from the front for years and years and years and years and years. And just as you're sort of starting to drop the seeds of something like this happening, the players, the paladin player goes, I think it's time for him to head back to his order and start to nurture the next generation of his kin. That is a sensible retirement point for the character. The player has chosen it. Would you still go ahead with the cataclysmic battle, or would you just let it go there and just let your ideas?
Are they happy? Okay. Do they look satisfied?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Give them the win.
Fair enough.
Save that cataclysmic battle for the next campaign.
Yeah. Same. Okay. It wasn't as bad a question as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as interesting as question as I thought it would be. Chat, any questions for us? Chat, same campaign, new rule system could be interesting. Yeah. No, I think. No, I disagree. The fun for me.
Are you trying to piss Bear off?
I mean, for me, the enjoyment is in the wonder of the players' discoveries and them learning new things. And if it's the same campaign with a new rule system, they're not learning new things. They're just playing through the same story beats. I don't think, and for me, the system is secondary, very much secondary. Unless the system gets in the way of a game, then it's not secondary. It's a pain, but the system tends to be secondary to me. Right. I think unless it's as simple as I build my house in the woods and live off the land, there's no chance of interference with the outside world. Cool. Well, why not let the player have that, as Bear said? Why not let the player have the character be able to retire like that? Hopefully they'll bring in a new character. And then you've got to take them all through the beginning, the middle, and the end again.
I once ran a campaign where I made them all play the children of their characters, but they didn't play their own characters' children.
Oh, that's interesting. So,
what do you mean? Like they all switched them around?
Yes.
Basically, okay. So John is playing Devere. You're playing Navari, and let's say for fun, Saxis is playing with us, and he's playing Soloff. Okay. Well, the new campaign. Sax, you're going to play Devere's son. Iman, you're going to play Soloff's son, and John, you're going to play Navri's son.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That would certainly be interesting.
That could be very interesting. Fun, yeah.
Yeah. Again, you would need thorough buy-in from the players, and you'd need everyone paying really good attention throughout. But yeah, and as long as
I'd play Devere's son, like all of the worst bits and none of the best bits, if there are any.
Oh, good. But you also need to have the players not try and sort of overrule each other during play and say, no, he wouldn't have done that.
No, they don't get a say because it's not their character.
Yeah, quite.
It's the son of their character.
Yeah, the characters can have very different perspectives of their fathers. It might be that the son of the Veer looks upon the Veer as like, this is the model knight of how you should be, or he could be turning around and go like, I want to be nothing like him.
I want to be a wizard. I want to be a wizard because my father was an asshole. I want to be a wizard.
Yeah,
I rebelled by becoming a wizard.
yeah.
Right?
Nothing
You
wrong
can
with
take
that.
it. You can definitely go all of these ways, and it will make perfect sense. You've just got to be able to at least.
If his son doing witchcraft would just boil De Vere's blood.
Yeah, but that's again, some teenagers, when they want to sort of like rebel against their parents, they'll go out and do that. They'll get nose piercings or color their hairs. They can go out and become wizards.
One opportunity it would give you is you could actually, from time to time, bring in the fathers and let the original player have a little.
Oh, absolutely, you could do that. If there was a way to do it, absolutely, I agree.
And I think that would be interesting.
Another thing I did one time, my son, was I ran a superhero game. We had been playing together for years as the college game, and we were still friends. It was about 15 years ago we did this. I said, okay, how about this for a campaign? We're going to start a new campaign. Cool. Hey, Renz, what do you think is your most iconic character to play? And he's like, oh, Zero G. Robin, it's this, it's that. And we went around the table, we got everybody's iconic character, and I went, great. Other than Renzo, who wants to make Zero G and see what they can do with that character? Okay, who wants to make this character and see what they can do? And they all played in a brand new campaign universe, no tie to the last, but they took the other person's character and reimagined it from their perspective as a player. One of the best fucking campaigns we ever played. It was so much fun. It even led to one case where one player went, man, you play this guy way better than I ever did. Like, he was like, holy shit, it was fun. So you can do stuff like that. You can mess things up. You can go ahead and give them other options other than, okay, let's get the band back together and go on one more adventure.
Absolutely. Gingerbeard's back in town. Hello, Gingerbeard. Is he right, Saxius?
He's very far. He's very, very wrong on that.
Was your dad an uber nerd as well then?
No, I wouldn't call him an uber nerd.
Okay.
John's just trying to start fights tonight. It's like
I'm not giving in. Sorry, I'm not on this one. I'm not going to go in about my family. Not on stream.
Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait.
No, it's not like it's just my rules are like I don't discuss my family on streams.
It's a joke from Gingerbeard anyway.
I know. It's I get the joke.
Orkcol says, do you run possible systems by potential players, or do you go, I'm running X, who wants to play? I've done both.
Yeah, me too.
Done both. You need to know your group. If I'm running a game in the Discord, I will say I want to run this game. Who's up for it? If it's a face-to-face group I've been playing with for a long time, I will say to them, would you like me to run a Paranoia one-shot, a Call of Cthulhu one-shot, or would you like a campaign of something? I will say, well, what do you want? So you can do both. You can do both. You don't feel constrained. But if you've got something you think they'll enjoy, turn up with it. Play it. Say, I'm running this. We're playing this tonight.
If you've earned the trust of your players and you're showing enthusiasm for something, they're going to want to do it just because they know it's going to be a great game because you're into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's also a two-way thing. You build the trust as a DM by showing that you can run things that are competent and to the liking of the players. You're willing to take risk with the players, and they're willing to take the risk back, and then in turn they can see that they can trust you with some of these topics.
And then you all hug it out.
Yes.
But I can never imagine a day where I will run D&D ever.
Poking the bear is indeed easier, Daryl. Yes, I will say this though: a lot of us do rebel against our fathers. My father, he's still alive, prides himself on never having been drunk in his life, and he's a really good singer. So there you go. I'm completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. But hey ho.
That's fair.
Hey ho. Yes. But there's a lot of things we do have in common.
That's fair.
I'm very much like my dad in a lot of ways, and also the complete opposite in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Because we're all individuals. No one's going to quote Monty Python there. Someone was meant to say, "I'm not," but
I got better.
I got better.
Bloody
Yes.
splitter.
So, any more questions coming? My inability. No, yes, it is a deliberate choice to rebel. Yes. I have never chosen to hone my voice. I did not attempt to join the school
I
choir.
didn't start to sound white on purpose. It just sort of happened, you know.
It comes from living up north, doesn't it, lad? You were born up north. You were schooled up north.
It comes from going to
Bloody
grammar school.
die up
Like,
north.
Come from going to school up north. Walking to school 5 miles uphill every day.
No offense, but there are some accents in England that, like, if I were to meet a girl who spoke with that accent, I'd be like, "You, I don't care how hot you are. Go away. You sound like a fucking mush mouth."
But
it's true.
yeah.
I think Joker's asleep.
He's
No,
there.
he's
He's
there.
there.
I'm here.
Hey!
He likes to sit and listen to Joker. He's a
I'm still
listener.
living in my shoebox.
You have a shoebox. My
Yeah.
God, you're wealthy.
Mage, if you'll do it, so will I.
Ooh, hello.
Fuck.
Bear, are you going to join us?
No, because I'll be stuck in Toronto when I need to be back in where I'm staying.
I'm
See,
disappointed in you,
that's
Bear.
the problem. I'm staying in the town where the convention's happening. You're going back to Toronto each night to sleep.
I can imagine you crooning after a few pints at a
Oh,
karaoke
I'll
bar.
croon without a few pints, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm not going to be fucking stuck in Toronto.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm going to be stuck in Toronto, am I?
Well, no, you're going to have a blast because
Of course
you'll be
I am,
hanging out
yes.
with him. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
All right, it's time to go to bed. Okay, bye, guys. I'll go walk the streets of Toronto until the GO trains start, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the same.
You don't. When I don't need it, but it certainly helps. And Gingerbeard says his dad was the head of a Channel Islands biker gang, very small biker gang.
Yeah, they all drove into the sea. It was weird.
I'm wondering if it was a biker gang on the island of Sark, because motor vehicles aren't allowed on the island of Sark. So they'd have all been pedaling around on their pedal bikes.
Oh,
Bicycle
biker,
gang.
right.
Yes.
You never seen Super Troopers, John?
No.
Oh, they agree to have a meeting, and the guy shows up, and the girl's dressed like a leather biker, and he's dressed like a bicyclist, and he just goes, "Oh, biker, right?" Like he took the message of what to dress like the wrong way. Perfect.
Well, that's how I picture a Channel Islands biker gang, though. So because I just think of Sark, which is one of the smaller Channel Islands where it's only about 2 miles across, I think. So they don't need cars.
All my family is from the Channel Islands, Jersey and Guernsey.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
My mother's side of the family is from Guernsey, and my father's side of the family is from Jersey. I'm adopted.
So you're partly French.
No, I'm adopted.
No.
Oh. Oh, right.
I'm Irish, Scottish, Danish.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, so you have a bond with Saxius.
Not over that. Over our mutual annoyance in you. That's what
John's fair enough.
That's what we're all here for, isn't it?
It's really true,
Yeah.
isn't it? It just brings us all together in like one brotherhood of man.
Yeah.
Play games and piss John off. I want to talk about games.
Sark would be a good place to set a Call of Cthulhu adventure. Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
I don't even know where that is. I've never heard of it.
Well, you know, you've got Jersey and Guernsey, the two biggest Channel Islands. They're just off the coast of France, but they're part of the British Isles, effectively. Or are they part of the UK? Are they part of the UK but not part of the British Isles? Or are they part of the British Isles but not part of the UK? I can never remember.
Not part of the UK.
I think they're part of the UK but not officially British Isles.
No, I think it's the other way around.
I'm not sure.
They don't
But-
have UK postcodes,
Fucking
do they?
Christ.
So, anyway,
Who gives a fuck?
But there's two other. There's two others that are inhabited. Alderney, the third largest one, and Sark, which is tiny. But there you go.
That's why I've never heard of it. It was an inspiration.
British Isles, but not UK. Oh, good. Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I
That's
was
gonna
right.
be
Screw
pretty-
you.
I'm glad we worked that out because I was on the edge of my seat with anticipation to know the fate of Sark.
Oh, you awesome.
Well, I know it exists, so that's something.
Yes. So we have pretty much hammered the topic, I think, unless anyone can think of anything more about ending campaigns. Iman, you haven't talked much about ending campaigns. Do you want to say something
Well,
about ending
I've only
campaigns?
been in a few, and none of them have ended yet. So
Oh, there you go. There you
I
go.
can only
What sort-
speculate for the time being.
What sort of ending do you think you would enjoy?
If my character or our characters die or go insane, as long as we've achieved something, it would be all right. But if we'd achieved absolutely nothing after all of that, that would be very frustrating. We've got to at least do something, even little, whatever. But
Yeah,
something.
but you've already achieved lots. You've already achieved.
I don't know about that. I mean, Fenelix still about. The statue's still about. There's
Yeah,
plenty
well,
of things that could
Does he
go
actually think
wrong
he can
between.
win Call of Cthulhu? Is that what he's
Yes.
thinking right now?
Yes,
Oh, you sweet summer child.
you cannot doubt my determination.
I'm
Seriously.
going to say now, the point of the campaign is for it to be completed, not necessarily with the original characters.
Even
I've
though
already
I
lost
found out.
one,
You've already
and
lost
then
one.
two
we've
side
already-
characters as well.
Yeah, and multiple characters have died so far. We're still going, are we not?
Oh yeah, so Bear, that's another one on the technical deaths
I
because
haven't
it was
died
a
yet.
death in the side
You haven't died yet. No.
scenario.
No.
No, you are the player of Theseus.
But
Joker's
sadly,
character is the only one who's actually alive and sane from the beginning.
because he hasn't poked many things.
He just watches us do it.
Yeah.
Hey, if I've got three other four guys, why bother?
But sadly, for most campaigns, I think someone said earlier, sadly for most campaigns, the way they end is they fizzle out, which is a shame.
Yes.
Always a shame.
Hey, I'm
Because-
sad I'm missing out on 2 sessions while you're in Canada next month.
Sorry, but
It's
it's not going to
alright.
fizzle out as a result.
It happens to be my
Yeah.
mum's birthday and then my brother's birthday on those 2 days,
Fair
so it
enough,
works out
fair
well
enough.
anyway.
So campaigns that have fizzled out. What's your most disappointing campaign that's fizzled out? Zacchaeus?
Oh, go ahead, Sax.
No, you had something
Oh.
lined up.
Codex Albana.
It hasn't fizzled out yet.
Oh, it's so fizzled out. No, I'm kidding. Nah, too many to count, dude. Too many to count. I've been gaming since 1985. Too many to count.
I mean, my most disappointing one, and it wasn't a cohesive story campaign. It was quite simply a classic module AD&D campaign. But I was running a multiple groups of adventurers because they had backup characters and all sorts through all my favorite adventures from yesteryear, and I had visions of them going through Descent into the Depths of the Earth, Vault of the Drow, defeating Lolth, going into her plane, having to endure Queen of the Dim Web Pits, which is a shit adventure. And then after that, it all culminating with a mass battle as I took them through H1 Bloodstone Pass. And that would be the big ending battle that would end the campaign, and they could finally retire. The land is safe from the demonic hordes and what have you. And sadly, they decided to charge a red dragon, and they never made it. And that's the problem with AD&D. We took the backup characters through another few adventures to try and get them up to strength, and then they died in Dungeon Land, and that was that. And we called an end to the campaign. And then COVID came along. So there we go. There we go.
They chose death, so
Yeah, they did. They chose
So
death,
did the
and
good one.
it wasn't a satisfying ending. It really
that's
wasn't.
not even like, oh, the dice decided. You just got to deal with it. That they chose death. So
Yeah. And going back to the whole thing, is it satisfying when it all ends that way? No, it wasn't. I was disappointed. It happens, though. It happens. But
well, we won't let that happen to Call of Cthulhu. We know that.
good.
What?
I know it's been on hold for a while, but Codex Albana is still strong in my heart. I want you to know that.
Well, that's nice. That's
So,
really
Saxius,
nice.
do you have a?
heroic? You know I'm always good for it.
I know. That's why I consistently send you reminders Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on.
So, Saxius, do you have one that you're particularly disappointed in there that's fizzled out?
Yes, I've got a few. I drove a DM a little bit up the wall as a player.
You?
Yes.
Nah.
Introducing it, sending him a spreadsheet and a PowerPoint presentation of my analysis of 20 years worth of stock analysis versus property values in Detroit versus General Motor values. The DM was like, what's wrong with you, Oscar? I some of the players in that campaign said I went full psychopath, which the DM sort of went, it's a bit much. So he stepped down, I stepped up, took his place instead, and ran the campaign instead. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but in hindsight, I do look back at it and go like, that was not a satisfying end to the campaign. That was just me going, well, now I want to tell the story the way I want it to be. That's not a good way. I've had a game of The Witcher where one player got kicked because there became conflict between him and I on a personal level.
Oh.
And then another player decided that he wanted to betray the entire group. And I said that I'm the wrong DM for that. You can't do that. And he said, okay, my next character is going to be a woman from this island, and she's going to be a warrior. It's like, well, you've already got 3 red flags on that character because of the world, and I am not interested in continuing talking to you anymore. And a third player from the Witcher campaign said he kind of had enough. He had other problems in his life going on, leaving me with 2 players. And to this day, I've got those 2 players saying that they want me to reopen that campaign. And I do. But there's a lot of buy-in for that campaign. And I ran the campaign in 3.5 to level 9. But I don't like the way it ended. I don't like the way it ended because I gave a player a wish spell. That player never used a wish spell because he didn't understand that he had a wish spell at level 6. Sorry, not even level 6, it was at level 4. And the players were dumb enough to then go into a crypt, which led into a dungeon, where the players then dug all the way down to the last level, where there was a lich. And then that low-level player gave that wish over to the lich, who used the wish to have the stars align in a fashion so that he could be freed, causing the entire world to fall into an apocalyptic ice age. And I played that to the natural conclusion, and I to this day sit and look back at that campaign and go, I should just have ended the campaign by killing them all. I should not have dragged it out. I am not happy with how that game ended. I was a bad DM at the time.
Yeah.
So
We've all had mistakes when we were learning DMing, cutting our teeth.
what I do
I'm going to
go on.
I'm going to tell you a little tale from my university days. Second year at university, we all lived, our group of friends, a lot of us in one house, some of us in another house, dotted around, but in all very close proximity to each other. And it was coming towards the end of the second year. And as we were in the run up to exams, we weren't going out boozing as much or anything like that. And we decided that we'd have a chill night where we play a few games of D&D, and we started playing. And I said specifically to the players, I don't want to do too much prep or anything. We've got exams coming up very soon. We're just going to make just make characters and just play along with the adventures, and we'll just chill out and have a bit of fun. This one player, he hadn't played much before, and he got obsessed. And he started turning up at my house to discuss what his character would want to do in the game. And these days, I'd be like, "Oh, great, I'll go with that." But right then, I kept saying to him, "Look, I've got exams coming up. You've got exams coming up. Can't we just have that 3 or 4 hour session once or twice a week, and just play the adventure?" And he was like, "No, but I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want my character to do this, and I need you to do this for me, and I'd like you to do this." And then he turned up the next day and say, "Have you done this? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not?" And he was getting too into it. Now these days, I don't think I'd mind about someone getting a bit too much into it. Well, I wouldn't. I'd rather enjoy it. But then we didn't want it. And he was getting very overbearing in the games as well. And I was talking to a few of my housemates who were playing, and I said, he's getting a bit too much, isn't he? We're going to need to sort of stop playing and just sort of put him off a bit. And one of the players said, "I think I know what I'll do." He was playing a very stupid dwarf. And I presented him with an opportunity to cause a collapse, a cave-in. Rocks fall, everybody dies, but caused by the player. I presented him with opportunity. He knew I'd presented him with the opportunity. And in a fit of rage, his character caused the dungeon they were in to collapse, killing everybody. I closed the book, and we didn't play D&D again. Me, for 20 years.
Wow. What a way to leave a gap.
And that boy was Tony Blair.
Yeah, but so I didn't play again for another 20 years. We went through those exams. We all moved into different houses, scattered a bit more over the city. I sort of descended into my third year at university. I dived a little bit too much into things I probably shouldn't be doing, and D&D just fell by the wayside.
Is this a therapy session there, John?
Absolutely.
So whatever happened to this dude then? Did he carry on playing D&D or what? Are you still in touch with him?
No, not play. We stayed in touch with him at the time because he got obsessed with something else.
Just one of those obsessive personality types, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. He got obsessed with something else, and we were like, "Great, good. You're going to be obsessed with that. Yeah, at least you're not bothering us now." So there we go. So we're in the last 12 minutes of streams, so this is where we talk nonsense. And any gaming stuff you guys want to talk about? Anything to do with gaming? Whatever you want. Anything popped up recently?
Gaming, got some gaming. If you got any more of that gaming, it's pretty good. I love that gaming.
Yeah.
I'm going live at 8 o'clock Eastern. Just gonna be listening to tunes and talking shit with RPGs. Anybody wants to show up and hang out in the chat?
Okay. Saxius, you were pointing at him on then.
Well, yeah, he's the one who wants his gaming fixes between your Call of Cthulhu and my heroic. Yeah, you.
Oh god, yeah. And I'm waiting for the Codex Albana as well because I want to get back into that world.
So,
didn't I tell you the world exploded? I'm so sorry. The cat ate the entire hard drive. I don't have any files left. Sorry. Aliens abducted my campaign.
Iman, when do you want to run your Call of Cthulhu game? I mean, you don't need to wait until after we finished Orient Express. When do you feel like running it? When do you think you're going to be up for it?
When I finish doing the prep, for starters. But just whenever suits everyone, whenever we can find a time and a date that we can all say, right, yeah, no matter what, we're going to be here. Cool. I'm down.
Because the prep for that adventure can take 2 or 3 hours. That's it. That's all you need.
Are you talking from someone that's experienced?
Yeah, and someone and having someone who's run the adventure multiple times helping him.
Yeah, okay.
You're one of the now we know what Devere's kid will be like. One that was like, I never was good enough for my dad.
No, that's what Navri's like now.
The DM story of the DM.
So yeah, I mean, what I'm going to say to you, Iman, find a time, get the players there, and get it done, because I think you'll enjoy it.
Yes, and I will channel my inner Saxius and murder you all and make you go insane.
Yeah, I just realized I'm busy that day. I can't play. Sorry.
But, yeah,
that's all right. The character will still die or go insane anyway.
Well, whatever.
I mean,
whatever makes you happy, whatever blows your hair back.
I mean, we can sit and butt heads over character creation for it, and anytime.
Oh Jesus, why?
Why not? Why not? You'll be getting pre-gens, and I know what sort of pre-gens will work with that adventure.
Okay.
Sure.
That doesn't excite you, knowing that.
No.
Why? Why would that not excite you?
Why would it?
Unless you want to make your own characters.
No, I'm fine with the pre-gen. I just don't understand why I should be excited that you're making my pre-gen. Like, oh, my nipples, they can't get any more erect. Like,
yeah, that's what we want. No, but no. The reason is I'd like it to run smoothly. So there are certain types of characters that will work with that adventure very nicely. What is the difference between wisdom and intelligence in a tabletop role-playing game?
Einstein and Edith Bunker. Einstein was very smart.
Yeah.
Made lots of stupid decisions in life.
I don't know who Edith Bunker is, so.
Archie, All in the Family was an American TV show. And the wife, was very wise, but she wasn't very bright.
That
Street
TV
Smart
show
versus Book Smart.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
That show that you nicked from the UK.
Did we?
Yes.
What was it called in the
UK? Till Death Us Depart.
Is that what it was? Okay. I didn't nick it. I'm Canadian, so don't say you.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Fucking palmy.
But no, Archie Bunker was Alf Garnett.
Cool. Well, his wife in the American version was called Edith, and Edith was the perfect example of low intelligence, high wisdom. And her husband was a horrible man. It was the 70s.
Yes, but that's the whole point of it. You're meant to laugh at him because he was an idiot.
So which kind of person is more likely to make stupid life decisions? High intelligence, low wisdom, or vice versa?
High intelligence, low wisdom. Yeah.
The days of comedy when people could laugh at each other.
Yes.
I love the unanimity there.
You will meet a lot of people gaming who have high intelligence, low wisdom.
Oh boy, will you ever. Just to give an example of what kind of jokes they made on the show. At one point in time, there's a conversation going on, and Archie's like, "Oh, geez, see that? Don't tell him that. You're going to turn him into a morphodite." And she's just like, "What's a morphodite, Archie?" It's when it's got too much of one and not enough of the other. That's the kind of humor that show was. It was basically hitting the fucking cultural shit of the 70s right in the face. Race relations, all sexuality, all that kind of stuff. It was a really good show.
But you wouldn't get away with it nowadays.
Oh, fuck no.
No, you wouldn't get away with it. But should wisdom be a rogue stat then?
Fucking D&D.
I would say not necessarily. I think intelligence is problem solving is more a rogue stat. Yes, a good wisdom benefits anyone. Yes, Well, bear's got head in hands. Wisdom can be a bit your intuition as well. That can bake into wisdom.
So intelligence is like knowing things and problem solving and being book smart, whereas wisdom is like knowing the bigger picture of things.
No, wisdom is being savvy.
Wisdom's about being perceptive of what's going on around you, making the right decisions in the situations.
Smart people convince themselves that bad ideas are good ideas. Wise people go, this is a bad idea.
Even if they don't understand the full ins and outs of the idea.
They just know this is a bad idea.
It's that gut feeling of like, it's going to go bad. I'm not going to touch it. Whereas an intelligent person would go, I can see something working in this if we only tweak these things.
Yeah.
Not, they might understand it on a conceptual level, but then real life happens and boom.
Yeah. But in a society, you need to have the intelligent working with the wise. They complement each other. And they could frustrate each other.
Call might be your new best friend.
Well, because classes are for school.
Yeah.
All right, our college and me run away to a desert island and build our own society where D&D is outlawed. There. Okay, you happy now? You happy, man? You happy?
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy killing your characters. I mean, I'm going to enjoy the next session we play in Codex Albana. It's going to be so much fun.
George, Call of Cthulhu has intelligence. Call of Cthulhu has intelligence, education, and willpower, all are separate.
Yes.
Friends hold your beer. Best friends wake up in jail with you. Quite like that. For those that's in Bear's chat. So
animals are our friends, but they won't pick you up at the airport.
Yes.
Friends will tell you something's a bad idea. Your best friend will do it with you.
The best friend will hold you back and stop you from doing it.
Friends will help you move. Best friend will help you move a body.
Yes.
I haven't heard that one before.
No, I've heard that one before.
No, Diogo says here the ability.
Yeah, but you forgot the charisma aspect of that. Salsa.
The charisma aspect is the ability to persuade someone to put a tomato in a fruit salad.
No, the charisma version is salsa. We've now found the bar.
Willpower.
To what? You dropped out.
To eat a tomato even if you hate them.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, I like tomato. To a tomato.
All right, chaps. Anyway, I think this stream is petering out. We have seconds left. So shill channel time. Shill channel, chaps. If you have channel you wish to shill, do so now.
Go ahead, accountant DM.
I produce trash content. There's nothing of note worth. I talk about numbers in your fantasy games and in your sci-fi games. I bring math to your escapism, and for some reason, people think I bring anything of value. I've only got 2 videos up at the moment. More will come out. You can't stop me. It's just going to be a tidal wave of terrible content. You're warned. You know what you're getting.
There we go. Yeah, I gave him some advice the other day that when you start a channel, it's best to keep videos fairly short and snappy. It's actually just went, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Now, here's how you know she'll a channel, Saxius. Leave me alone. Stay away. Get off my lawn. Don't subscribe. I don't want to talk to you. Goodbye.
By the way, he's got a Patreon.
Yes.
It's a very good one.
Stop.
Buy Heroic. Sign up to his Patreon.
No, leave me alone. Get off my lawn.
Joker's channel's a little dormant at the moment because Joker has found love. Iman, are you doing any streaming? Iman's frozen. What a great way to end a stream. 2 people refusing to shield their channels, 1
Played
dormant
Resident
channel.
Oh god.
Iman's freezing. Iman is
I can
playing
call.
Resident Evil. Iman is playing streaming Resident Evil, the remake version of it. So catch him on a Sunday evening for his playthroughs. Then I've shielded for you, Iman.
Thank you. We're all professionals here, exactly.
That was Joker. I think. And I'm the old geek, and it seems my Wednesday nights are now spent being bombarded by a tag team consisting of Bear and Saxius.
You brought it on yourself. You have only yourself to blame.
And being a closet masochist, I enjoy it. And on that note,
yeah, well, you've been torturing us on Tuesdays. It's your turn to get tortured on Wednesday.
Yes, I will be going to Clericon at the end of October.
Go for a nice parfait.
And after Clericon, I will be torturing myself even more by live streaming me running a AD&D adventure by the name of The Forest Oracle.
Love it.
So that'll be Friday nights in November. Look forward to it. I'm not. And on that note, thank you all, chaps. Thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye. Don't play D&D. It's a bad game. Titan loves you.
Subscribe to Major's Musings and Grumpy Old Slan and everybody else in chat as well.